Hey guys and girls, hopefully we're having an awesome week, and welcome aboard to Tuesday night chats with Birchy. So just waiting for everyone to hop online, and got a few interesting things to talk about. Obviously, things are changing out there in the world. Hey everyone that's joining in on Insta, and hey everyone on Facebook. Today, I might be talking about a few things that I've posted into Birch feed, so just a bit of a shout out. If you haven't already, make sure that you go to birchfeed.com. It's birchfeed.com, no .au on it, just birchfeed.com, and it's free. Just daily information, daily topics, daily things that we look at and share out there with the rest of the world. So obviously. If you've got, hey everyone, hey Gail, how are you? From Queensland. Hey Melissa, hope you're doing well. And also, forgot what else I was going to say. Got a lot of things to talk about this evening, and I try to make a few little notes on a spare phone every week so I can pull news articles so I can share with everyone. One of the things I was going to talk about this week was the fact JobKeeper was going to be extended. They're going to talk about it on Thursday, and here we are today with the JobKeeper extension. So going to have a lot of feedback for you, thoughts, and whatnot around that. So I'm seeing a couple of you tagging your friends and whatnot. If you do like what I put out there, if you could smash up the like button just to show me that you like it. And Facebook and Insta are sort of shadow banning some of the things that we say and all that. I can tell by the analytics on the back end how it works. So if you could tag your friends, share it if you like what I put out there, and obviously comment and be a part of the community. So I can see here Amanda's got some questions. Feel free to ask the questions away, and happy to answer these for you. So hey Tom, I've got to give you a buzz back. Sorry, I've been busy. Haven't had a chance to call you back yet, mate. And I see everyone here's from Queensland. It's so great, right? Seeing that the team in Queensland are always online. They're always here supporting me every Tuesday night. So I actually got someone here in the background. I got my niece Lauren that works for us here in the B.Invested headquarters. She's thought she'd come and watch me do the live here. I'm also going to take her home. So with it, I'm going to get straight into it and talk about the first article. First article, as I put in the topic today, is who stole my money. Not looking for anyone. I know I'm going to be fine, but a lot of people will be questioning themselves who stole my money. And the thing is that people are going to lose their purchasing power. People are going to, I can see Pat. Hey Pat, hope you're doing well, from our headquarters. Everybody's tuning in now. A lot of people are going to be saying who stole my money, what happened to my purchasing ability, and we're starting to see the early stages of inflation trickle through the economy. So maybe as I'm reading through the articles, if we can have a bit of fun, if you guys can maybe comment on some of the things that you guys are seeing rise in value in the current climate, because there's lots of things that are rising in value. So this article goes on to read, the coronavirus crisis heightens fears bank deposits could be wiped out under ambiguous laws. So this article goes on to read, a Senate inquiry is being asked to consider whether there is a need to tighten up a loophole that could give APRA the power to implement authorised direct bail-in deposit accounts. Imagine if you woke up one day to ask your bank account, to find your bank account had been wiped out, your entire life savings has evaporated overnight, but not because some anonymous fraudster stolen it. It happened because the very banking institution that regulators have been repeatedly told you is unquestionably strong has faltered. The bank has taken your deposit and converted it into shares to ensure its own survival. You now own those shares, but you've taken out more risk than you signed up for, and there's a possibility that those shares could end up being worthless. This is a scenario of a bank moving to bail in your money. If you think this is totally impossible, think again. It happened in Cyprus not so long ago. It's happening actually in Lebanon at the moment. A lot of riots and stuff going on there. Before this scamdemic had occurred, there was these things called yellow vest protesters starting in Hong Kong that were rioting, and it was all around the world about how the banks are, screwing everyone over. So, looking at it, whilst bail-in situation in Australia is currently a highly improbable scenario, people are feeling more nervous about their financial future. Future amid the scamdemic and the deepest recession since depression. We are in a depression, guys and girls. We are in a depression in 2020. I was going to wear my shirt today, the GFD t-shirt. Are you GFD compliant? How have you protected yourself for the GFD? And I was thinking about it as well. It cracks me up nearly every single day when I think about how crazy I sounded 2 years ago. We're going to go into a depression. Everyone laughed and goes, come on, Nathan, interest rates are going to go up. You're going to lose everything. You're going to be fucked. You're going to be out of luck. And here we are in 2020, and the whole world is a different paradigm. And it's a checkmate scenario. We're stuck here with the financial system. So it goes: is Australia at a risk of imminent bail-in? Before understanding the history behind the current Senate inquiry, it is worth noting that Australian banks are not in the same boat as Cyprus. Banks were in 2013. Our banks are still well capitalised and profitable, and are being supported by the regulators throughout the word that I shall not call, with the number at the end of it, crisis. Furthermore, should their situation deteriorate because of the scamdemic, the federal government has repeatedly vowed it will protect Australia's banks' deposits. Under the financial claims scheme, Australian savings with authorised deposit-taking institutions are guaranteed for deposits up to $250,000 per institution. So some people out there talk about how Australia is a stock market company that's traded out there. No, there was a company created back in 2008 in the peak of the GFC, and it was ready to basically issue bonds and raise capital and liquidity from overseas. It's something that people can't trade, but it is there as a security, and it's backed by the tax slaves of this nation, and it's you and I. So this basically goes on and talks about the bail-in of the banks, right? Will the banks collapse? Who knows? Who knows what will happen? It's a year of fun things that are happening out there. I personally don't think we're going to see the banks collapse, but they're going to be very different to what they are today. Very simply to the fact that interest rates are going to be going negative shortly. I personally have been pounding on for a long while about how we're going to see negative interest rates. I don't think we're going to see ourselves go off a mortgage holiday until we're in negative interest rate territory. We read out in about, I think it was September last year, I did Facebook Live, and I talked about the fact that the banking computers don't actually allow for negative interest rates at this point in time, and it's sort of like the Y2K moment. So the systems aren't ready for negative interest rates. It's becoming more and more evident that we are in a fake second wave, and I know that I might cop a lot of flack from those of you that are in Melbourne under house arrest, in your houses or units or wherever you live. You're not allowed to leave. Hopefully you guys are doing well, and hopefully I can crack you up with some jokes and some funny stuff out there on a Tuesday night. However, it's all too common, it's all too coincidental, should we say, that here we are with a second wave, right? And all in time, we've seen New South Wales starting to go into, there's new cases here, new cases there, new cases everywhere arising, right at the point that we're going to have to make the call that we're going to have to extend this universal basic income. And but yeah, with it, is it fake, right? And from my thoughts on it, it's all too coincidental. I had a lot of things I wanted to talk about this evening, but they've just announced JobKeeper being extended for another 6 months, and that is going to be one of the biggest things I want to talk about this evening. Um, I believe that we'll see these universal basic income style things occur. And I think it's important to protect yourself, protect your personal liberty and freedom, because once you end up going into a universal basic income, there will be terms, conditions, and whatnot imposed around that. Reason why I wrote in the heading here on Facebook, who stole my money, right? And it's not that I'm looking for anyone that's stolen my cash, but a lot of people will be sitting here in 5 years' time going, what happened to my wealth? I remember beforehand I lived a different life to what I live today. And your purchasing power is being removed from your currency at the moment. If they keep up these universal basic income stimulus packages that are coming through, it will eradicate, the everyday need to go and work. There's people that are going, look, I'm going to go on the dole and not have to work because I get paid for me being on the dole than I do from actually having a job. And that's going to pose some new issues as we move forward. And I personally see that we'll head into some sort of digital currency, some commie card that you have to use, which will be like a food stamp card. People will be given a card, they can load up their commie credits from the government, and in turn, have to abide by laws. It might be that if they don't get an injection, they may not get a vaccine, and end up handicapped or whatever, that they don't get paid. Right? You may not be allowed into a shop if you don't get your vaccine and get your shot and get your little jab in you. My mum always laughed at me and said, Nathan, I know you're never good on the drugs because I hate the thought of a needle, and I don't get injections, right? No one's going to be jabbing me with that. But yeah, is this a world that we're heading into? Is it going to be something that you have to have from your CommiSafe app, where where everybody needs to have their CommiSafe app, and then they get sent some commie bucks onto their app, and they can use that to buy basic necessities, food, a million rolls of toilet paper, etc., etc. So I feel that there'll become terms and conditions around these stimulus packages, i.e. universal basic incomes, and it's something they cannot remove from the economy now because people are going to become so dependent on it. Businesses are going to be becoming so dependent on it, and just very, very interesting world. But here we are. One of the articles I wanted to read to you guys was from Yahoo. It came out on the 18th of July, so on the weekend. JobKeeper set to be extended as second spike looms, right? Look at all these headings, right? They've started conditioning people. We've got the second spike. It's the second wave coming through. Everyone is going to be wiped out. We're just going to do it, protect you. Stay in your house. Everybody, breathing carbon monoxide or whatever it is when you're breathing in your own breath and whatnot. But here we are blaming it. Federal Treasurer Josh Frydenberg has confirmed there will be a continued JobKeeper support beyond the former 27th of September deadline. It is clear the economy will need further economic support, and we will continue to do what it takes to keep businesses in business and Australians in jobs, Frydenberg told The Australian on Saturday. He said the Victorian crisis threatens the national economy and further support measures are required. We know that many sectors will take considerably longer to recover, even restrictions are eased. There will be another phase of income support. Things are already improving. Businesses and households were regaining confidence, but a Victorian spike has occurred, and that's a significant setback for a quarter of the national economy. Right? They are literally mopping the floor with this scamdemic. Right? It is absolutely crazy. Let's go and look at some of the news today that had come out about the JobKeeper. It's fantastic, right? What is going to happen? What is going to happen now that they are going to be giving more of this? It's what I want to talk a lot about after I read these articles. So, JobKeeper, 2 million Aussies to be kicked off wage subsidy scheme. The headings are all very different. They say basically they're trying to, we're just doing it to get through this time, but they can't get rid of it. Only about 2 months ago they said we're going to end JobKeeper early due to the fact that we don't need it out there, right? They're never removing it. It's like saying interest rates are going back to 10%. If they go back to 10%, everybody's going to be screwed. More than 2 million workers will be kicked off the new revamped $1,200 a week wage subsidy JobKeeper this year, in a move that is expected to spike the unemployment rate. So you just watch if they start to remove JobKeeper. We're going to see people that, these zombie companies are going, no, we don't need the staff, you're gone, claim it on Corona, right? This is the situation at hand. The Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, announced long-awaited changes on Tuesday, revealing that repayments will also be reduced from $1,500 to $1,200 a fortnight. The reason why millions of workers would no longer qualify for wage subsidy is the new turnover test, which will require companies to prove they are still 30% down on normal turnovers over 2 quarters. The good news is that the sign the economy is recovering faster than expected, but it could prove bad news for business that can no longer afford to keep the same number of workers without the JobKeeper subsidy. This has been an interesting quarter. Everyone's going to be putting out their incomes. Everyone's going to be doing their taxes. Companies are going to be going broke. I went to the shops the other night to get some ice cream and some dessert and whatnot. And I know what a lot of you are saying. You're like, you don't need to eat ice cream, Nath, you're a fat fuck. But I felt like having ice cream, and I went to the shops, and I noticed that there were these restaurants that weren't opening again, right? Places that I'd been to a lot, and they've got signs on the door: sorry, there's been an end of era, we're closing down. Vacant shops appearing everywhere in shopping centres. Just a very sad tale out there. So imagine if they start removing the things that have been keeping these businesses alive. And a lot of people sort of comment, and they're like, will this cause the crash? Will we see the market implode in September, right? So we've seen now that interest rates, or your mortgage holidays, have now been extended from September till March next year. So they've added an extra 6 months on the mortgage holiday. And they've also extended, as of today, JobKeeper for 6 months. It will go down from October to $1,200 per fortnight, and then in January it'll go down to $1,000 per fortnight. Let's see the cutbacks in the employment out there. Let's see the economy, in some capacity, get pushed back. Let's watch what happens when what sort of excuses they'll come out with, right? Why do we need to increase it? They cannot remove this thing. They cannot remove it. We've talked about it for months. Everyone's like, oh, everything's going to fall apart in September. They can't let it fall apart. It's checkmate. It's the greatest game of chess that's being played here. And it's exciting time to be alive to see it. But basically he goes on to say this article, I digress. The single largest economic measure that the Australian government has ever taken, JobKeeper, is currently supporting 960,000 businesses. That's nearly 1 million businesses in this country is on JobKeeper, and around 3.5 million workers. That means the Centrelink and the government is paying for over half, right? If we take in consideration the amount of nurses, police officers, teachers, council workers, bin people that do the rubbish, right? How many things are surviving on, basically the whole of Canberra is surviving on, government intervention at the moment, right? It's just a printing press. It's not going to get any better. They've extended that. What has changed? We talked about that. Just having a look here, some more articles. I'm done with that. I want to talk about what comes next, right? What is going to come after this phase? So we've now got interest rates at 0.25% at the RBA. It's okay if you can't pay your mortgage. We'll put it on hold for 6 months. We know that you can't put it on hold just for 6 months. We'll put it on hold for another 6 months. And then there might be a third wave. Oh, we've got to put it on hold for another 6 months. And then what's going to go from there, right? We've decided to give everyone negative interest rates. We're going to be paying you money now to hold a mortgage. Really, really interesting. Rodney just wrote here, 72% of government money, government income versus government jobs versus 28% private sector currently. It is an amazing time, right? Amazing if you're ready for it. Amazing if you're, able to see this play out before it plays out. I had a few text messages this morning texting me. Ash, when you texted me, it said that I should take bets. People should do bets on what Birch Feed's talking about. The heading for Birch Feed is history before it happens. We're talking about stuff before this happens, guys. What sort of moves can we make in this market? Where the opportunity lays? It's the exciting, most exciting time out there. Stephen just wrote here, the interest still has to be paid back. True, if you put your mortgage on hold, but what about if interest rates go to 0%? You don't have to pay, interest on that. So we're heading into a very interesting monetary policy. We're going to see government debt rise. A lot of people think we're going to get taxes. It's not going to be taxed, guys. The silent tax is inflation, and we will soon see the currencies around the world starting to debase from the real world. And it takes me to my next topic, which is special drawing rights. Going back about 4 months ago, back in when all this stuff started, when lockdown started happening, etc. I did do a Facebook Live surrounding special drawing rights and the International Monetary Fund. So this here is from the IMF.org, and it actually came out in March 24th, 2020. Spoken about this for a long while. Special drawing right. The SDR is an international reserve asset created on the IMF in 1969 to supplement its member countries' official reserves. So far, the SDR is 204 billion, equivalent to about 281 billion, have been allocated to members, including SDR of 182.6 billion allocated in 2009 in the wake of the global financial crisis. The value of the SDR is based on a basket of 5 currencies: the US dollar, the euro, the Chinese renminbi, the Japanese yen, and the British pound sterling. The role of the SDR was created as a supplementary international reserve asset in context of the Bretton Woods fixed exchange rate system. The collapse of Bretton Woods system in 1973 and the shift of major currencies to floating exchange rate regimes lessened the reliance on the SDR as a global reserve asset. Nonetheless, the SDR allocation can play a role in providing liquidity and supplementing member countries' official reserve, as was the case in the global financial crisis. We're going to see currencies go under. We're going to see countries go under. We're going to see inflation occur. We're going to see an inflationary depression out of this, guys, an inflationary depression. So just familiarize yourself with what SDR is, a special drawing right. Familiarize yourself with the International Monetary Fund and all the goodies that will be coming in the not too distant future. So that takes me to one last random thing that I wanted to talk about. This here was just an article. This is totally left field. It's got nothing to do with the economy, nothing to do with anything else. Here's what will happen when Queen Elizabeth II dies. What happened to the first Queen Elizabeth? Anyway, it's just interesting, right? Like, who's organised a holiday, right? People aren't going anywhere. Who am I kidding? But who's tried to organise a get-together? Who's tried to organise something and get a group of like 5 people, 10 people, 20 people together? People can't do it. People can't get, something right and have 20 people hook up on a weekend, go out somewhere, do something. Here we've got countries all around the world, right? We've got every single country around the world, prepared for when this lizard sort of carks it. And it goes on to read, the Queen has been sitting at the throne since 1952 and the longest reign in any monarch in British history. Operation London Bridge is a code name given to the plan in place for the days and weeks after the Queen's passing. Queen's funeral will be one of the biggest funerals in the century and will bring the UK to a standstill. Operation London Bridge, that's the code name given to the plan in place for the days and weeks in the operation of Queen's passing. The Queen has been sitting on the royal throne since 1952, the longest reign of any monarch in British history, and during that time she has seen over a dozen UK Prime Ministers, nearly 20 Summer Olympics, only half a dozen popes. Queen is the cornerstone of the Commonwealth, patron of almost 600 organisations. Her Private Secretary, the Right Honourable Edward Young, will pass the message to acting Prime Minister at the time. The message will likely read, London Bridge, blah. I don't even want to read about this person, right? But the thing is that how come this is so orchestrated? Why is there so much propaganda, right? Like we're hearing here about people getting sick. We're seeing the same news, right? If you go onto the news out there and read Canada news, right? We go and see the UK news. We go see the US news. We go see the New Zealand news. We go see the Philippines news, Zimbabwe news. Any country out there, the news has got the same headlines, guys, the same headlines. Who's putting this stuff together? Who's controlling the media? Who's controlling our thoughts? Who's controlling who can watch this video and who can't watch this video? Someone asked me beforehand, how do you comment in Birch feed? You can't actually comment in Birch feed. It's just me pumping out content. It's stuff that I've come across on a daily basis. It's stuff that I've seen, stuff that I thought would be for good sharing. So I do share stuff in there. But here we are in a world where the media is censored. People are muzzled. Literally nowadays, people have got these face masks. If you don't wear a face mask, you're going to go to jail or they'll lock you up and beat you. Whatever the case may be. But the thing is that all these media outlets are talking the same stuff. How can they organise this? How can every country have the same stimulus package? How come every country can have the same JobKeeper package but call a different name? How come every country's got the same interest rate policy? How come every country's stock market is going to all-time highs when everybody's losing their job? I see a message here from Henry. The Rothschilds control the media. I'll probably get banned for saying that name. But you've got to question this stuff, guys. You've got to question it. And here we are in a world where we've got a universal basic income. People's wealth is being stolen. People are ending up in some totalitarian, fascist, Marxist, totalitarian commie society that we're living in 2020. What do I see happening at the moment? Lots of things, right? This week we've seen silver head up to $20. Hasn't been there for many years. We're seeing precious metals rise. We're seeing cryptocurrencies rise again. People ask me quite often, Nathan, what cryptos do you invest in? Should I buy gold and silver? Should I invest in it? My answer is that should you go out there and sell your house and go buy Bitcoin? No, right? But if you've got a couple $100, $1,000, whatever it is, maybe it's worthwhile having a little bit of something else that you can trade in, that you can barter in, that could be inflated away. Just seeing here, Stephen wrote, try Duckduckgo. Try Duckduckgo, guys. Go to duckduckgo.com and type in whatever you're trying to search, right? Go on to DuckDuckGo, type in whatever it is that you're going to search. Don't do it now because you might lose me on your mobile device or whatever, but try it later. Have a look and see what you can search for. There's more content on these different platforms, but everyone just goes to Google because it's just, it's Google. And it's censored. Everything that's on YouTube is censored. You go watch a video, you end up watching Warren Buffett on CNBC. I didn't want to watch Warren Buffett. I wanted to watch whatever video I was watching beforehand. And here we go. Google just bought DuckDuckGo, right? So they're going to censor it. There is a lot of decentralized platforms out there that are coming out. There is a Brave browser, as just has been mentioned in the feed here. Information is being censored, right? If you're going to be pushed out, right? Someone's earning $1,000 a week. Now they're earning $1,000 a week, and they're getting $1,000 stimulus package. They're going to be earning $2,000 a week, but it's still not going to be enough. One's a digital currency that's stuck in their platform of using, Corona bucks or whatever it's going to be called. And using the dollar in the other hand, people are going to be poorer and poorer. They're going to be at servitude to the system. This currency has got to be backed by something, and we will see it stuck to something like the SDR, the special drawing rights. The IMF will have to come out and bail out the central banks after this. They are going into the trillions. We talked about it a couple of months ago, 3 months, 4 months ago. We will see stimulus package go into the trillions of dollars. This is not $1 billion sort of question. It is $1 trillion situation that we're in at the moment. And what does that mean for assets? So we're starting to see people moving the money to precious metals, silver, gold. Does it mean you go out there and spend 100 grand on silver? No. Does it mean that you go and spend 50 grand on silver? No. Does it mean that you might go and spend $200, $500, $1,000 on it? that wouldn't be the silliest thing that you could ever do. If someone says that I've got to earn money by getting a needle jabbed in me and who knows what it's going to do, fuck no, I'm not doing that, right? I'll be growing my own food as I do. I'll be having my own currencies as I do. I'll be well placed with different sorts of financial instruments so I can still move around outside of the system, not having to wear a muzzle, not being forced with some sort of commie sort of regime that Dictator Dan down in Melbourne is enforcing on the people. How many people, I saw something beforehand about like 1,000 people that have died over suicide over the last month or something. It's crazy, the amount of things that are flow-on effects. Why are we having this, right? Why suddenly we've got a new outbreak on the week that we'd calculated that we're going to see stimulus packages extended, right? It's insane. It's insane. Just reading a lot of comments in here, so I'm going to get to some of the comments. Also, just a shout out to our friends across the divide over in New Zealand as well. If you're in New Zealand, next week I'm going to do something special. I'm going to be doing the Facebook Live at 6 p.m. In Sydney time, which will be 8 o'clock in New Zealand time. So I'm going to be 6 o'clock next week, and I'm going to have Rose Renouf, who is my head of Zinger Finance, talking about New Zealanders and how they can, or people from other countries, but more so New Zealanders, because I'm seeing a lot of New Zealanders wanting to buy across here in Australia, how to actually finance your your portfolio. So I'll be holding a special Facebook Live. Next week's Facebook Live will be at 6 o'clock Sydney time, and also it'll be 8 o'clock in New Zealand time, covering off on how to be able to buy properties in Australia if you're from another country. So make sure you tune in for that. I hope you're well, Michael. Thanks for tuning in. Thoughts on financing or buying a car for my business to get new tax benefits. Maybe a bit more of a tailored sort of financial strategy sort of chat. However, if you'd like to chat more about should you buy a car for your business, how to get the tax benefits and whatnot, flick us a private message. Opportunity contact with a chat with Ridwan Hannan, principal accountant at One Path Accountants. He's my personal accountant and a true gentleman. He'll be able to point you in the right direction. Gergs, how does Spain government think basic income where everyone gets paid the same will help their economy? Doesn't make sense. Can I explain? It is called a universal basic income again, guys. It's just Centrelink for everybody. It always hollows out the middle class. You'll have rich ruling class, poor bottom class. We're at a point now, which is a turning point, where they're just going to keep people at servitude, just like the cheap, shitty food that people eat at Macca's and KFC and all that sort of stuff is controlling them. We're just going to be pumped out with just, it's like feeding an animal. Do you know when they feed those animals that are like cattle and they keep them alive just enough so they can beef them up and get them to use them for whatever they need them to use them for? That's what they're doing with the human race. So, it doesn't work. It's never worked in the past. Communism doesn't work. It's a failed model. Capitalism, is it the right thing? Who knows? But it's something that's going to, are you on one side of the coin or are you on the other side of the coin? So, is it going to be purely, should we just go out there and buy properties? No, right? There's different strategies, right? I have strategy for food, for accumulating food and being able to have sustainability on food, for electricity, sustainability from that perspective, from the aspect of currency and currency creation and cash flow. It's important to work out, all the different areas of your life. If you weren't allowed to leave your house, how are you going to get fed? If you aren't allowed to go to a shopping centre without wearing a muzzle, having an app and having a chip implanted in you and being injected with some chemicals, how would you go around eating? These are really serious questions that you should be asking. I'm not saying it's the end of the world sort of thing, but they are along the lines of, how can you protect yourself, your personal liberty and freedom and that of your family and still be able to, operate in a system. So yeah, cash is going to be a thing of the past. We're going to lose the value of our currency as we head into hyperinflation. We're starting to see that. I asked you guys to put some. Just seeing here, Steve's question. I'll get to that in a second. I will read Stephen's question here. Sorry, guys. Hey, Nathan, you've been mentioning a lot about UBI. Will it be good for us? Bad, because I'm losing all the comments here. Or a good thing? How will it change property investing? Looking at, there's too many messages coming through, guys. I've seen a lot of people tagging and whatnot, so thanks for that. Yeah, as for universal basic income, how will it help the economy? It's just going to drive up inflation. We're going to see rapid inflation. I asked beforehand for everybody to post in here what they've seen go up in value recently, and have a look at the questions, have a look in the comment section, what people are thinking are going up in their own neighbourhood, in their own area. Like, is it the Big Mac meal that's gone up? Is it the cost of petrol going up? Is it the cost of, like, these things aren't going up that well. Beef prices are up. Things can't keep rising at the rate they are. Why is everything rising, right? The stock market's rising. The property market's going on the biggest boom I've ever seen. Everyone's expecting it to crash, right? I feel sorry for those people sitting on the side. I'm having a difficult time as it is to secure properties because they're just going, right? They're just going. I spent probably about 10 hours the other day. I know, call me a dork, call me whatever. I was checking out the property websites, seeing what stock levels, the amount of stock that's coming in the market, the amount of stock that's on the market, the amount of under contracts that are on properties. And it doesn't matter what little Hicksville, small town, country town, regional town, whatever, they're all under contract, right? Everyone's pulling their 10 grand out of their super. Everyone's pulling another 10 grand out. You've got a couple pulling 10 grand, 10 grand, 10 grand, 10 grand. They're getting 40 grand. People are finding ways to, capitalise on stimulus packages and opportunities that are out there at the moment. People are here texting that I read before, the comment before, I forget who it was, that said, should I be buying a vehicle and taking advantage of the tax stimulus and the tax breaks at the moment? This is causing inflation. There's less vehicles out there in the market. There's less stuff to consume just due to the market, right? It's putting a pressure on it. There's less shops that are open. There's retailers that are going bust. What's happening with those, if there's less, competition out there in the market, what's going to happen to, their market share? How are they going to be able to capitalise? I just went and bought dinner from a place I hadn't been for a very long time. It was a childhood place that I went to, and I bought some dinner, and I was like, your prices, they should be much higher. They're asking me, Nathan, what do I do? What should I do? And I was like, put your prices up to start off with. You're charging too cheap for the food that you're selling. And yeah, it's just an interesting time. Amanda wrote here, how does JobKeeper work from a business owner's point of view? Is it enough to keep businesses afloat? What about the other business expenses? Good question. So there's different stimulus packages that are out there for businesses. Some businesses are really struggling. Some businesses are very, very excited. I was having a chat with some mates the other day, and they said, we want to get tattoos of saying JobKeeper, right? Because of the how happy they are from that. The stimulus packages that are coming out for their businesses. And the thing is that if you're a business owner, let's say you've got a staff member on, 50 grand a year, 60 grand a year, 80 grand a year, and you're on JobKeeper, you could be getting $40,000 a year income coming from the government, as well as getting some tax breaks by not having to pay tax for those staff members because you're getting tax rebates. There's lots of different stimulus packages for businesses. So basically, some businesses could just not be paying for their staff, right? They could just be making more profits. And it's not there to be designed to make profits, but some businesses are. Some businesses are doing great. Some businesses are booming. I talk to people all the time and they say, look, because of this is going on, people are stuck at home, people don't want to go out as much. Like I mentioned the other week, I went to one of my motels and it was completely packed, right? And it's very rare to see it completely packed like this, and it's booked out every week. It's getting booked out just because people aren't travelling overseas. So people are travelling local, and local trades in some of these little towns are really bouncing back. So it's just interesting. Can little guys really have access to the 0% interest rates? No. I was talking to one of my team members, one of my staff today. We're talking to a client. The client has got a 2.4% interest rate, and I was just laughing. I was like, 2.4% interest rate on an investment property. I've got a property that's in Sydney for this person. I mean, like in the CBD for 460,000, 460 grand. And it's positive cash flow now by $80 a week. On the cash flow sheet that I put out to my investors, I put a cash flow sheet when I purchase properties for my investors. I put in all the calculations so you can look at the numbers of how the deal stacks up, council, water, strata, whatever may be involved, real estate agent fees. And this thing beforehand on 5% interest rates was negative like $50 a week. Now it's positive by like, I don't know, it was like $80-90 a week. People are benefiting from this. There's a lot of people out there benefiting from cheap money. It will have the trickle-down economics. They're just printing so much money. They can't push these interest rates back up. If we see the RBA, drop interest rates to -2, -3%, the banks could be, and my target rate from 3 years ago, when I sounded like I was off my fucking head and everyone was like laughing at me, to now, I continuously say, -2 to -3% interest rates. Yeah. Just seeing some other questions here. Client managed to defer all loans and get another loan for a new purchase with a conforming lender. Exactly. There's so much money creation happening out there. When you go and purchase a property, let's just say we're buying a property today. When you're going out to purchase a property, the money isn't sitting in the bank, right? The bank doesn't go out and go, oh, we've just pulled out, here's $1 million, go buy a property. They're just writing sticky notes, right? I've got sticky notes on my thing. I'm going to hold it this way so people can't read on the back of it, right? They're just pulling out a sticky note going, I owe you $1 million, putting it out the back, creating some currency, sending it over to whoever the money's got to go to, and then when someone pays out that loan, it's like poof, back to money heaven. That sticky note sort of ripped up, thrown in the bin, and the currency is being thrown away. So reality of it is that we need to keep producing more currency to keep this system afloat. So it's not just the money that's being printed today, right? Let's say we have $1 trillion that's being printed, right? $1 trillion goes into JobKeeper, let's call it. Let's say everybody from JobKeeper that gets their $1 trillion, all the stimulus packages, people put that currency in their bank account, and the bank then has fractional reserve banking, and now they can lend out on that $10 trillion. Right? Because if they have $1,000, they can lend out $10,000. If they've got $1 trillion, they can lend out $10 trillion. That currency is being created and generated in the system. Let's assume that I sell a property for $1 million and I put the money in my account. The money is being created from over there, right? Enters into my bank account, and then my bank account can hold charge of that and go, we can create another $10 million from that. That's how fractional reserve banking works. So we're going to see the real fun time of this system implode, right? Will the hyperinflation occur today? Will it happen tomorrow? I believe we're at very early stages, and it has started. It has started. Just go and take a note. Go collect the catalogues from Woolworths, from Coles, from shopping centres. There was this thing here. This is something interesting that I saw the other day as well. Sorry guys, this is really a really cool article that I saw from the Royal Australian Mint. Actually, it was a catalogue from 2001 from the Mint, right? And everyone talks about gold and silver and all that sort of stuff. I talk about it a bit. I don't sit there and go around and sell your house and go buy it. I've been collecting for a long time. I went back to an article from 2001 the other day on the weekend, and it was the centenary of Federation. And just had a look at some of the products that they were selling back in 2001. It was funny, right? Like, look, this was the logo from the Mint back in the day, right? Yeah, really funny. as I was reading it, there was this part here, because I actually found this thing here. There's a coin set, and the coin set, I keep getting spammed in some of these groups online. It goes to say this thing here sold. There was 300 of this one coin set. It was $880, and you get 8 coins. And I found it actually located with the dealer, and it was $500. It was below the spot price of the silver. And I went on and thought, that's pretty crazy. So I went up to research it, and what got my attention was just above this coin, there were these gold coins here, right? Which is these gold coins. They were half a troy ounce and 1/3 of a troy ounce. And it goes on to show that 1/3 of a troy ounce uncirculated coin was $260. So that would place a value at 3 times 260, so about $780 per ounce of gold. And that was them putting their premium on top. And, we're seeing the cost of everything, the devaluation of our currency. So when we look back, when we think to ourselves, who stole my currency? Who stole my money? Right? This is happening everywhere. It's not just here. It's happening in how much would it cost you for a container of laundry detergent 10 years ago? How much would it cost you for putting carpet into a property? Right? I was thinking about it today, the cost of carpet, the cost of a mini skip bin, the cost of disposing of waste from 10 years ago. It's all, I remember I was getting $95 2-meter skip bins going back in the early 2000s, and here we are, you're paying like $400 for the thing. So very, very interesting. Will we see the biggest boom? I believe that we're starting to see it. A lot of people will sit there and be like, no, we're not. People will be, sitting there, fearing, what about when it ends in another 6 months' time? This ain't going to end, right? Over the last decade, since that catalogue came out, since that coin catalogue came out in 2001, right, they have printed trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to get through the dot-com boom bust. They've printed money to get through the GFC, and now they're printing money to get through the GFD. And it's all going to go somewhere, and it's going to come at the cost of your currency. And it's not the properties are going to go up in value. It's just that there's more money floating around, and you're going to need more of it to purchase the same asset. When I was at that food shop earlier, I asked them how much a can of drink was, and they go, it's $3 for a can of drink. And I'm like, 10 years ago it wasn't that. And they go, I know, right? And 10 years before that, they're like, it was like 50 cents, 60 cents a can of drink. And now it's $3, right? We're going to lose our currency here. So, just having a look at some of your comments. Where is the best place to be purchasing gold and silver? I used to purchase my gold and silver from a place called Perth Bullion Company. I do not buy from the mints, just due to the fact that I don't want them seeing what I'm buying or any control over that. So I try and buy them from reputable bullion dealers. Don't go to eBay and places like that. When you buy them on eBay, there's a lot of fake stuff out there, so be very careful that it's a trustworthy and respectable place. If you go online, you'll type in bullion dealer in your capital city, go and speak to them, see what they're selling. You got to make sure you're not paying too much higher over the spot price. So, for example, silver at the moment is about $30 Aussie per ounce, $32, $33. You'd be hard pressed to find silver for under sort of like $35 for an ounce of it now. But yeah, just go to a reputable bullion dealer. I can't recommend any because I buy them from all different sources nowadays. I actually have people coming to me with precious metals, and they sell to me. So I just privately buy them from sources. So, Amanda, do local councils own investment properties? I don't believe so, but they do own everything, just like the Queen. They're the crown, so they're constantly taxing you. Try not to pay your taxes on your property for a year, you'll get served a court order, and probably after 2 years they'll start repossession orders on your property. So do councils own investment properties? They own your property, so you're just paying them a tax for what are they doing for the tax? I understand some levels of council and government are okay. We need to have roads and stuff like that, but besides that, they're just taking cash from us. I do note that there was a message here which I lost here, stating about the Queen and the reason why it was really weird that I talked about it, and that they put that article out there. There has been vaccines that have come from England. It's like the City of London. A lot of people don't realise that there's an actual company called the City of London, and it's like a 1 square kilometre grounds. It's got like the most expensive real estate in the world, and the City of London is actually not London. It's actually a corporation where people can go, and it's like having a one of those, what do they call them, those islands where people hide all their money and whatnot. The City of London is that. So yeah, a lot of corporations are based inside the City of London, and a lot of interesting stuff comes from there. So it is the old sort of processor of the world. So it's interesting to see the control, the level of reach. Like here we are, everyone's now saying that plastic bags are banned. And that happened like October 2 years ago. I think it was 2018, September 2018, where all the bags were banned. You have to pay for them at all the shopping centres and whatnot. This same thing happened, not just in Australia, folks. It happened in all different countries around the world, and mainly those that were under the monarchy. So it's just interesting to see the level of control there. We all think we're free, but we're just free-range commies. Alrighty, what do you think about the news that the government will introduce more tax cut early this year and not waiting for next year, so people will start going out and work and not just staying around the house using JobKeeper, JobSeeker? They're going to have to cut more taxes, right? People, this bill is going to rack up. This is like going on a spending spree, right? The country was okay due to the fact that it had a very low debt level, right? We've just printed more money in the last 6 months than throughout any Paul Keating era in the early 1990s, and the debts that we had, Howard come and say he's cleaned up and saved the day on, that has been created like tenfold in a period of 6 months. So very, very interesting. So I believe we're going to see more tax cuts, more stimulus packages. They're going to kill this currency. This currency will die. We will lose the dollar in its current shape. It will end up in a cashless society. Cashless, where they track you, they trace you, they chip you, they vaccinate you, they do whatever you have to abide by the system. You will be losing your rights throughout this. So don't just think, oh, here we are, we're going to, it's going to be great. Eventually it will be really bad, but it's something that it's I see that we're going to see more stimulus, the tax cuts, stimulus packages, there's the stimulus packages. It's going to, we're still at the very early days of this, and we're going to see a wave 2, a wave 3, a wave 4. They're going to have to keep kicking this down the road. It's like they've got a skeleton key. I heard this on a video beforehand. I posted it into Birch feed earlier on today for World Alternative Media, and basically they were talking about it being a skeleton key to be able to unlock all the things that no one accept beforehand, and here everyone is accepting them, and they're using the corona to wipe the floor with it. So that's why it's called a scandemic. Matt said that cough could be that word with the number that I don't say. Everything is now. I saw a joke beforehand and it said I used to cough when I'd fart in public. You'd cough. Now people say they fart to cover the cough. It's just a funny joke there, but it's interesting. Miss Rose, so as you missed out on our webinar, we had a webinar a few weeks ago that everyone had to register for. I'll be having a webinar at the end of this month. It is separate to Facebook Live and Instagram Live, so make sure you go to the B.Invested page or reach out, send us a private message and get the link of how you can register, because they are limited to 500 people per webinar, so I can't have more than 500 people in the webinar. But I will be talking on my next webinar about how to locate, negotiate and source properties that are below market value, even in this current market, and how you can still pick up properties for 10, 15, 20, even 50, $100,000 once they're bringing in cash flow. So make sure you do register and subscribe for that. So flick us a message if you haven't got the invite link to the webinar. Putting out so much content nowadays. I don't know where all the links are and stuff, but you can just reach out. The team will hook you up. Rose was awesome. She'll be back. Rose will be back next week. Nora, hi Nathan. Hi Nora. Hope you're well. Hopefully everything is not too crazy there for you. Indentured servitude, exactly. Debt slavery. We are debt slaves here. Will a vaccine magically be found when printing? I personally believe that we're going to see him just print all the way through this. It's like, we need to print some more money. Things are starting to, the wheel's starting to fall off the cart. Let's print some more money. Oh, look, we've got an outbreak in Sydney. All right? It's comical. It's comical. Gregory, Nathan, thoughts on leveraging first homeowners grant, home builder grant, and first homeowner grant deposit scheme to leverage to get into the market. Look, if you can get access to the homeowner grant, the home builder grant, the first home loan deposit, the home loan deposit is limited to numbers, and it will most likely, from my understanding, you have to meet the regulations of lender's mortgage insurance. So it is basically having mortgage insurance, but the government is backing that. The builder grant, everyone can claim the builder grant, but most builders are now jacking up prices. Bricks are getting more expensive. We're going to see inflation. Bricks will be more expensive, plumber will be more expensive, the tradie will be more expensive. It's the writing's on the wall already. First homeowner grant, if you can get the first homeowner grant, that's great, but just be careful when going out there and trying to capitalise on all these grants that you're not actually shooting yourself in the foot as well, because I know there's a lot of people out there in the marketplace that are trying to take advantage of the situations, and all these gurus. Inside my Instagram and Facebook, whenever I go onto them, I'm seeing a lot more ads for these scammy sort of people that are trying to flog off new sort of properties and stuff like that. Stops, question mark. Hello everyone. Hey Rose. Rose is in the house. We've got Rose here. For those of you that Rose she's got 6 likes here. So everybody give a shout out for Rose. She'll be here next week. Matt, hand sanitizer gone up. I went to fill up with petrol. I went out to check out some of my properties on Sunday. I was out in good old Mount Druitt. There was a burnout place I was checking on the reno at, and I had to get petrol. And when I was in there, they're like, do you want to have hand sanitizer? 3 bottles of it. And they're trying to flog me this hand sanitizer. And I said, it's all a scam. And he's like, no, keep your family safe. This guy's really trained up on how to flog hand sanitizer. But, people are brainwashed and people will keep buying it. If they raise food prices, they'll drop the portion sizes. Exactly. So some things they're dropping the sizes on, out there when it comes to food and things around the house. Half the stock market now compared to 2015 on the Central Coast. Clint, yes, that's right. Half the stock. So there's less stock in the market. People aren't wanting to sell. People are not forced to sell. People, have got multiple different options at this point in time. It's a very, very different beast to times gone by. Got one last question. I can see that we've got Instagram heading off. It's hit 1 hour mark. What is unsafe debt in terms of property? If debt to income ratio, like is earning 80 grand per year with 800 grand debt, considered unsafe debt? How do you measure it? Cheers. From an aspect of how much debt, it depends how long's a piece of string. I have 18.5 mil worth of debt. I wish I had more debt. The banks, I don't fit their calculators anymore, so it's a bit more difficult to do that. Some people that'll be too over leveraged, some people will be too under leveraged. If you had 800 grand worth of debt and you had $1 million worth of property, that's fine. If you got 800 worth of debt and 850 grand worth of property, it's probably too over leveraged. If you got $4 million worth of property and 800 grand worth of debt, it's pretty low. If you got 10 properties worth $100,000 each with only 800 grand debt, 10 rental incomes at $300 per week, that's 150,000 worth of rental income coming through on an 800 grand debt. That would be very acceptable. Everybody's position is different, so if you'd like, maybe we can have a chat and have a map session. I see here, Jamie, can we organise a map session? Yes, map session is a strategy session with myself. I overlook your position, look at where you're trying to go with your goals, and work out a plan of attack to try and help you get there. Obviously, no financial advice is ever given from me, but if you would like a map session, just send a private message to the team. If you're on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, there's a link in the description. You can click on the link and it'll take you straight to organise a map session with myself personally. Does that mean property prices will go up with hyperinflation? Yes, I believe so. Debt becomes irrelevant with inflation. That has seen the end of Instagram. Should we bring him back? Let's bring Instagram back. Let's bring him back. Let's bring him back. Whilst they're coming back. Money. Hey Shane, hope you're doing well. Hugh, Nathan, do you buy houses that are listed on the internet or are they only off market? I buy properties wherever they are from. As I was saying beforehand, are we going into the largest property boom of our lifetimes? I personally feel that we are heading into the largest property boom. Everything's going to be sucked up in this boom, right? Whether it be hand sanitizer, whether it be a Big Mac meal, whether it be bricks, whether it be piece of carpet, rolls of carpet, everything's going to get inflated away. Cost of goods are going up everywhere. I look for properties wherever I can. I personally on the weekend went and searched for about 10 hours, just seeing what's happening, feeling the market. I know what I'm seeing inside of my office, right? I'm seeing deals getting snapped up within an hour, right? Last night I wrapped up a deal. It was a house in Sydney sort of districts, right? Last week I had a unit, right? This unit sold for $200,000 in 2006. I bought it for $130,000 for a client. Someone jumped in, bought it straight away, right? This was in Sydney. Then I picked up for that same client yesterday a house for $134,000 in the surrounds of Sydney, sold straight away. That agent though has got me something off market, and I'm making sure that they, repay me for the pain that they caused from that deal selling, and I'm getting to get me something off market. So it's important to whether it's on market, whether it's off market, if the numbers stack up, do the deal. So predominantly most of my properties do come off market. Some of them do have to go on markets to keep the owners happy and satisfied and whatnot. So sometimes I go on online and be different when they go online, but I try to make the real estate agents work for me. Gina, this is much bigger than tax incentives for small businesses. This is like nothing anyone's ever seen beforehand. This is stimulus packages that are like insane. Right? As I said, for those of you that were watching beforehand, I had friends that I don't have tattoos. My mates don't have tattoos. Some of them do. Some of them are scary with tattoos. But they go, "Oh, we'll get a JobKeeper tattoo because it's so cool, right?" Like it's something that they've never seen in any years of running their businesses. And it's not just a tax break. Like this is not a tax break that they're giving. This is that the financial system is screwed. They're doing everything. They're throwing everything at the market to try and keep it alive. And we will eventually, the levers that they're pulling now is going to make us lose our currency. And just remember, for those of you that don't always watch, some of you that might be new here, debt becomes irrelevant with inflation. The more currency creation that they occur, the more money you need in order to buy the same goods. So if this bottle of water was $1 beforehand and it goes up to $2, you need $2 to do it. The only reason why it goes up to $2 isn't because it's any better, any more, any less, or anything like that. As a matter of fact, if you have a look at it, they're only 500 mils, not 600 mils, right? It's just funny. But it's not that the water has gone up in value, it's that the money that you've bought it with has bought less, so there's more of them out there, so they need to take more to sell you the same bottle of water or the same good. So this is very, very exciting times. How are people going to, Jose said, how are people going to service these debts? If the interest rate is 2% or 3%, it's basically free money. $1 million, right? Imagine going to the 90s and getting $1 million at 20% interest, right? The value of money had greater value beforehand. You could buy a lot more things with your currency. However, everybody's got Afterpay, Zip Pay, whatever sort of pay, right? Like the pants that I'm wearing, I went and tried them on in the shop, and when I went and bought the pants, I was looking, and on the back of the door it said Afterpay for $50 fucking $50, right? People are getting loans, people are getting money creation. There's no value in money, right? Like back in the 90s, someone in an apprenticeship was getting like $200 a week, $150 a week. Now, everybody, it doesn't matter who you are, you're just getting $1,000 given to you, or $750. There you go. Just stay at home, you get $750. So looking at the cost of this currency that we have and the cost of the debt that you're collecting, $30,000 a year on a 3% interest rate on $1 million worth of debt. Who can't go and buy a property that is $1 million and returns more than 30 grand a year? Who can't go and buy a $100,000 property that returns $30 a week, $3 grand a year, right? That's $60 a week rent on a $100,000 property. I pick up properties all the time that are $100,000 rent for $200, $250 a week rent, right? They're positive cash flow. People can service the debt. There's more money going out there. The tenants are going to get more money, right? They can pay more in rent. Everything will get inflated away. The rents aren't what they were in the 90s. The house prices aren't what they were in the 90s. Bottle of Coca-Cola isn't worth what it was in the 90s. The price of carpet, the price of bread, and I'm talking like decent bread, not like that dollar shit that they give away in the supermarkets. The cost of beef, the cost of lamb, the cost of eggs, right? The cost of dishwashing liquid, or they didn't have dishwashing in the 90s, but the cost of washing detergent, it's all getting inflated. And we're going to see the biggest wave of inflation ever seen, and we're going to see the biggest boom. People are going to feel richer. They're going to say, "Oh, look, my house is worth more. My car." I think about cars, right? Like some of the shit boxes. Like I remember back in the 90s, right? I grew up in Western Sydney, and everyone, like all these housos, had like 5 cars. They all had like VL Commodores. They were stacked, right? People had like 5 in their front lawn. There was no front grass. They'd have like dirt. Just everyone parked their cars. Grass would grow around the car, whatever. And those cars were like $50. People would give a car for $50, $100. Who bought a Holden or a Ford or a Mitsubishi or some car for like $100, $200 is their first car, right? Those cars are now selling for $5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand. Some old cars are selling for 70, 80 grand. Right, old Holdens. Who would have thought? A Holden, 70 grand, 60 grand from the 90s, from the 80s, from the 70s. It's crazy. It's crazy. So my view for debt is you pay off today's debt with tomorrow's hyperinflated currency. I've got a bit of a neck issue at the moment. Still got these on my desk. Moving house at the moment. These were the Hungarian currency, the pengo. This was the 50 pengo. This was the 50 pengo here. That was a $1 billion note. That was 20 years apart. The currency had been totally destroyed. So, what is our currency going to look like in 20 years? It's going to be dead. Is it true with the 10,000 out of your super categorizes you in hardship? Correct. So people that are wanting to go and pull their money out of their super, thinking that they're awesome. So many people have done it. They've gone, look, I've got money. It's like you already had 100 grand. Now you've got 110 grand and you can't buy shit, right? When the banks assess you and they look at your position and they see that you've pulled out the money from your super fund, either you're in financial hardship, which means that you don't qualify for a loan, or you didn't face financial hardship and you pulled it out and it wasn't right, so they mark you off as a person with no character and you don't get a loan. So be very careful. Be very careful. Could work for some people. Most people it doesn't work for. If you'd like to have a chat whether it should be for you, whether you should pull out your super fund, whether you could use it for something like that, I do have people that can help you and give you some feedback on that front. So yeah, feel free to hit up my office and ask the question if it's right for you. Real Estate Australia, that's true. Interest is 2%. The people that can get loans are buying up. The wealthy always look for opportunities, right? Never let a good crisis go to waste, right? Never let a good crisis go to waste. I have never, ever been busier. I've been in business for 11 years, running the B.Invested group of companies. I quit my job in the middle of the GFC. I was 24 and able to quit my job. I used property as a vehicle. I did have other financial instruments. At the time, I used to day trade shares, right? I own 0 shares, no paper assets right at this point in time. Everything I have is physical. I don't hold cash. I don't like holding cash. I don't like collecting cash. As soon as the cash comes in, it goes out. It collects more assets. Those assets bring me cash flow. That cash flow goes out and gets more assets. That brings me more cash flow. My number plate says cash flow. It's all about cash flow and having the assets. We're in a position at the moment. This is the most exciting time. I've never seen so many people out there trying to take advantage and improve their positions. It's really cool to see. There's so many people today that are in much better financial positions for what they were pre-scamdemic. And that is the opportunity. Are you going to leave this period in time and go, I took advantage of a market, right? We're going to sit here and say, I just fucking wasted the best years of my life by not taking advantage of the opportunities that are out there. If you can pick up a property for 100 grand today, the rent's for $200 a week. That's great, right? You can't lay the bricks to buy a property, to build a property. So you've got to think, what's the cost of this property? I just seen a message here saying cash flow Bentley. Cash flow's going on a new vehicle. Got rid of the Bentley a while back. I prepared for this, right? I prepared for the GFD, right? I'm not even going to call it, this Corona scam shit anymore, right? This is straight up the GFD, the global financial depression, right? We're in a depression. People call it a depression now. 2 years ago, 2018, people didn't want to call it a depression. People didn't even know that we're in a financial catastrophe, right? It was like seeing an accident before it happened, right? And I sold my Bentley. I sold my G-Wagon. I sold vehicles because they don't bring cash flow, right? I've got a cash flow plate on a ute, right? I'll post photos of it later, but it's cool. But make sure that you take advantage of this market. Okay, how will hyperinflation affect rental payments? If everything gets expensive and wages don't keep up, then people cannot pay. Isn't that a nightmare for landlords? I'm trying to get my head around the hyperinflation from a landlord's perspective. Very valid point. With inflation, with rental payments that are coming through, inflation doesn't occur if you don't have, the capital there. The cash has to be flowing. We need to have the cash flowing through the system. We're trying to, if we have a deflation, there's money leaving the markets, right? We've got a debt-based fiat Ponzi scheme. Let's just get that very clear. Our currency is debt-based. It doesn't exist. They just keep printing more of it. The more debt they have in the system, the more currency is being created. If they remove debt from the system, the less currency is out there, we end into a big deflation. Deflation will destroy this system. They cannot allow deflation to occur. All these problems that we're seeing causes deflation. We need to counteract that. We need to stimulate the economy and hold it up. But it's all artificial. It's all artificial out there in the marketplace. We need to prop it up. So the measures that we're taking now, stimulating the economy, creating more jobs, creating more currency, creating more liquidity through the system. People are taking on more debt, right? If someone takes on debt and buys this bottle of water for $10 on their credit card or whatever, and they pay $10 for this, the store owner or the company that made this or whatever is making greater profits. That cash flow is coming from one hand to another, right? Someone is going to be going to be the end user of that debt that's being created. As that debt is created, means there's more cash flow flowing around. I see it panning out in a position where someone on $50,000 now ends up earning $1 million a year. If someone was earning, 100 grand in 1990, that would have been a very big wage, right? A house could have been like 200,000 in a good area of Sydney back in 1990. If someone was on 100 grand, that would have been 50% of the income. If someone's on 100 grand in 2020 and the house is worth $1 million, it's not that good, right? If you're on $1 million and you're on 50 grand a day, it sounds great that you're on $1 million. But when a Big Mac meal is $300, when a bottle of water is $10, $15, when a book costs $200, right? The cost of everything starts rising. People that are making these bottles of water that are selling for money are probably getting paid a higher income at that point, whether it's backed by this company or whether it's backed by the central bank. If someone's on $1 million and they're paying 300 grand a year in rent, if someone's on 50 grand paying 15 grand a year rent. So let's just use some numbers. 50,000 a year and 15 grand a year rent would be $300 per week rent on a 50 grand a year income. Be pretty standard on a $300 a week rent property. If that person goes from 50 grand to $1 million, that means the income is times 20. Or the 15 grand would have been like 30% of their income. 30% of $1 million is 300 grand, right? 300 grand rent on what would the house be worth? Like 2 million, 3 million at the time, 4 million, whatever it's gone up to. But if that rent is 300 grand a year, that means that you could pay out a loan within 12 months worth of rent, right? And debt will become irrelevant due to that inflation. It's happened throughout time. We've never seen anything quite like what we've got today. The levers that are getting pulled is creating more stimulus to go into the market. More stimulus going in the market, meaning more expansion of the monetary supply. We had deflation. When I started talking weird shit 2-3 years ago and everyone thought it was off my head, we had a different monetary policy. We've got liquidity leaving the market 3 years ago. That's why we saw APRA come in and make things tougher. That's why we saw it was heading into deflation 2 years ago. We are now heading into inflation. It hasn't trickled through the system yet. When it's trickled through the system, it'll be too late. They have turned the taps on for this currency to flow through. That is how we're going to see the rental repayments go up. That's the exciting part. Leanne leased a house in 6 hours last week. Rent increased and tenant offered 6 months in advance to secure it. What am I seeing out there in the rental market at the moment? I manage thousands of investment properties throughout Australia. I've got thousands of properties that my office manages. I have got here in Sydney the lowest vacancy I've had in the last 3 years, right? The lowest amount of properties that are available for rent. I'm in desperate need of rental properties to rent to tenants. If you have an investment property, please, if I could have a look at your property and see if I could lease it for you. I'd like to have the opportunity to be able to lease your properties, but that is, that's something that's happening out there. Leanne, I don't believe I manage your properties, but that's something that we're seeing out there. The market is hot from a rental perspective. People are scared. People think that, it's going to be tough out there, but the market is very hot from a rental perspective. We have got zero, not even one rent that we've reduced due to this total scam out there, being the corona scam. We haven't had any of our landlords drop their rent. Like if the property becomes vacant, some people have in the peak of this, just to try and, get it occupied and filled. But people haven't had a tenant that's gone, okay, we're going to renegotiate the rent. Our delinquencies on a rental front are marginally different to what they are every day of the week. So from a rental perspective, everybody's cash flow is nice and strong. Amanda, do you list properties for sale or just buy for clients? I only just buy properties for investors. I don't sell properties. I don't have a real estate office where I'll sell things. If you need help and want to chat to a real estate agent, I know good agents, I know bad agents. Some agents I won't buy from because they just charge too much, but I sell with them. Some agents I would never sell with, and I just buy with them. And if you have a property in an area and you want to, get a bit of a feedback, and I know someone in that area, I'm happy to hook you up and you can have a chat with them. So if you are thinking of selling a property, hit us up. But I don't sell properties. I only buy properties for investors, and I buy them below market value, so I can make profit on the way in for our investors. Dwayne, should I buy now or wait? The best time to buy was in April, May in 2019. That was the bottom of the market. The market started to increase in June, July, August, September, October, November. It's just been going like this, right? Upwards. Some of the cameras are reversed on some of my videos here, but depending where you're seeing it. But the market has been increasing from the middle of last year. In and around February, March, some people were scared. The market sort of plateaued, but let me tell you, the market is booming at the moment, right? If someone could afford a mortgage on $1 million at 50 grand a year beforehand, and now it's 2.5%, right? If it's gone from 5% interest rates to 2.5%, that means someone that was paying 50 grand interest is now paying 25 grand a year interest. They're saving 25 grand a year. That allows the property to go up a hell of a lot more. And that's the opportunity in there as well. Dwayne, buying in Brisbane, Gold Coast, I love those areas. The markets are getting very hot there at the moment, and the opportunities are drying up. You have to try and get stuff off market now in those markets. Buy now if you have the money, definitely worth it. In my opinion, yes. I was, just for those that haven't been following me forever, I was very negative 3 years ago. People were like, why are you saying that we're going to see a depression? Why are you so happy about seeing a depression? I was like, I know what they've got to do to starve this depression, is that they need to print more currency and get more money flowing out there. So money's going to become free. They're going to do everything they can, helicopter money to keep the economy alive, and it's the greatest thing about this. So I'm not always very positive on property. Stephen, Perthman is selling silver faster than they can make it, correct? A lot of, getting back to the silver and the precious metals beforehand, there is a lack of available metal at the moment. There's mines that are closing. People don't want to sell it, right? If you're a gold producer, a silver producer, why would you want to sell it if you know in 3 to 6 months it's going to go up in value? So they're not, shipping off. They're holding back on the sales due to the fact that they can, get more for that metal. So there is a supply and demand issue in the market. If you look at a lot of the bullion dealers out there, it has a lot of pre-orders. So if you go on the websites, normally it says you can buy this coin, this bar, whatever. Here's the price. Sometimes it needs to be in an open trading session for you to be able to purchase that metal. But at the moment, it just says pre-order all throughout the websites, because there's a lack of it out there. So there's a big difference between the premiums and the spot price, which the paper contracts are always manipulated anyway. But yeah. Hugh, hey Nathan, I have a property question for the first investment property. I only have borrowing power of 350. How do I purchase a house in metropolitan growth suburb? Do I start with an outer suburb and buy a townhouse, then work in the metro areas with proper growth? I live in Ballarat. Am I better to buy a house here and renovate it, or gain equity faster? Thanks for the question, Hugh, and thanks for tuning in. For 350,000, I'm picking up stuff in Sydney for 280, 290, 300. I picked up a property today for 292. I'm trying to get it cheaper, but I've got it for 292 in Sydney. It rents for $300 a week. These things are selling for 360, 370 in the peak. So for me personally, I can pick up for 350 in Sydney. I'm picking up in Brisbane for 150. Actually reminds me, I'm going to send to one of you a property after this, which I've got for 153, comparables at 190 in the same street, and rent for 320 a week. So you don't have to go to regional areas to get those sort of prices. Do you think the prices will claw back after the loan deferrals finish? No. A pullback? No. Dwayne, property prices will fall back after the loan deferral finishes. People can't afford to pay their mortgages because no one's got any employment. Doesn't the employment market drive property prices? No. No, that's where a lot of people are failing at this point in time, because they're going out and thinking, oh, well, when JobKeeper finishes, well, JobKeeper's just been extended. When the home loan deferral finishes, no, that's been extended, right? They're doing this to try and kick the can down the road as far as they can, right? Otherwise, we will lose. We'll have a total implosion of our economy, and this isn't just an Australian problem; it's a global problem. They will keep kicking these stimulus packages quarter after quarter, month after month, until they can change the currency that we use. So I believe we're going to see an introduction of a second tier currency. So for instance, the dollar that we have may be like a cashless dollar that the government's going to have, like so you can pay for your food and spend it at some corporations or whatever. Some sort of digital dollar might work on your the CommieSafe app that everybody's using. Show us your CommieSafe app and get a free $50 digital dollar, whatever the case may be. They're going to keep, pushing stimulus into this market. Don't think the market's going to fall, right? The market fell going back 3 years ago. We're in a boom now. So yeah, just interesting. Perth Bullion Shop has shut down. Yes, it did shut down. There is other dealers out there, but I leave it for people to go and find their own dealers. But I did used to use them. If this is all a big coincidence, and besides the virus, there is other plays at hand financially, what is the purpose behind it all? There's many different things going on at the moment, right? And I don't like to talk about some of the things. You don't hear me talk about them. I make some slight references to them in Birch feed. Some sick people, some fucked up things that people do. There's certain, powers and people that are in trouble. There's satanic forces. There's different hands at play here, and I try not to get into it because we're here as a financial and investment channel to look at what we can do in this economy to maximise our position. But there's many different hands at play here. I don't want to go down the sort of conspiracy road on that front. However, from an economic perspective, the economy died on the 10th of October 2018. That is when the death cross on our bond market really ramped up. That was actually the day, strangely enough, which I launched Birch Feed on the 10th of October 2018. And that was to the public, and it was just by coincidence that it was. But that's when we saw everything starting to fall in a heap. They can come out and say, look, we've been scamming everyone for the last 50 years or 100 years, or they can sit there and just be like, look, it's the virus over there. We're doing everything we can to help you. Unfortunately, we've got to pay you more money now, and here we go, we're giving it to you, and people will buy into that, and people are buying into it, and people ask me, how can you tell the history before it happens? And it's not, because I'm in Marty McFly's time machine. It's not that I've got an almanac from the future. It's not that I've, had some higher being come and download that information. It's by putting the pieces together that we're getting played here, and the only way around it is by the levers that are being pulled. There's the fundamentals are off the table. It's a complete fraudulent currency and monetary system that we've got here. All our financial markets are in life support and palliative care, but this game's gone on for since 1971 in its current format. I just saw a thumbs up from George on Instagram, the right of manhood, and I did a podcast with George probably 3 months ago, and we're talking about this. And after we finished the podcast, George asked me, Nathan, what happens if we put our economy back onto a gold standard? What would happen to property prices? What would happen to asset prices if we went to a gold standard? I was like, that's an interesting question. And I went and Googled it and looked at property prices over the last 100 years and tried to look at the chart. And you could tell very clearly when the currency was completely manipulated, and from like the early 70s, early 80s, we saw everything get pushed up, right? Like never seen beforehand. And that's just because of the debasement of the currency. If we were on a gold standard, we wouldn't see the growth that we're having now. And it's not real growth. Your properties aren't rising in value. It's that the money that you're buying it with, or the currency to be, specific, is losing its value, and we need more of it to buy the same asset. So if we were using a commodity-based currency like gold or silver or whatever, it's not by choice, but not by chance that you've got a $1 coin, a 10-cent piece, 20-cent piece that all represent like gold and silver. It's because they used to be that until they sort of brainwashed people to accept fake money. Fiat means fake. Fiat currency is fake money. That's what we're dealing with, and that's why our economy looks like it's going great, and that's why it looks like it's going bad. Is because they're just printing so much of this junk, and we are heading in. Like, it is very evident. Like last weekend, when I was seeing everything that's out there in the marketplace from a property front, I realised myself going 3-4 months ago, I told everyone we're going into a property boom, and it is evident. I've got agents coming to me going, Nathan, what's going to happen next? What should we do next? Where the property prices going in the market? And we are in a full swing of a boom. We are in a boom. You can watch the news. There's actually an article, one of the articles I forgot to read to you guys, and for those of you that are still watching and wanted to listen for this long, it's really great that you did, because I've got one last article to read to you. I forgot about it beforehand. It goes here. This is from news.com. News.com. And it goes to read, housing market. House prices could go up, right? This is the first time we've seen an article like this, right? The news, when they report it on the news, is after it has happened. If you go to birchfeed.com, it's for free, and you get to see history before it happens, because this is the shit we've been talking about for a long period of time. There is a huge question Australians want to be answered. What will happen next with house prices? This is from the news.com. The majority of viewers, prices will dive. Australia's biggest bank forecasts house prices to fall 10% in the next 6 months. The fall, says analysis from the CBA, will be driven by weak sentiment, rising unemployment, social distancing measures. Every time I go into a shop and I see all these people with masks and everything, I'm not trying to laugh at anyone of that, but I'm like, fuck, like social distancing measures, and they go hop on their train and go home or whatever. It's just crazy. But a sharp slowdown in net overseas migration. What is happening out there, right? If we think that we live in a shit world here in Australia, everyone in Melbourne is like, fuck, I'm stuck in my house. Imagine living in one of these other countries, which is full-scale commie, right? We live in the land of the free compared to that. So there's a lot of people that are trying to move to Australia, right? And I think, one thing I'm seeing just from my Facebook and Instagram, I'm seeing people go, I'm moving to Queensland and all these sorts of things. People are being cooped up. People want to go live on a farm. People are like, I'm going to work from home now. This is the new normal, whatever the case, all these buzzwords that are happening out there. People are, changing for lifestyle purpose. What about the people that are overseas that want to come to this country? So there's an opportunity there. For a lot of Australians, the end of endlessly rising house prices would be very welcome. House prices are crazy high, especially in the capital cities. I include myself here. I don't own a home, although I'd like to. So here's a really important one. I don't know Jason Murphy, right? Jason Murphy's an editor from news.com. I know a lot of the guys over there. They write articles on me. 99% of the time they're good. Got one or two that are writing weird stuff about me from time to time. But this Jason guy, I've never had him write an article. I've never met him. Don't know anything about him. But he writes articles every day. Jason Murphy writes articles on news.com about the property market. And he goes here, I don't own a home, but I'd like to. Well, why are you giving everybody advice? Why are you giving everybody advice on what they should and shouldn't be doing, right? There's just one thing to look at out there. But it goes on to read this, to this time, there's a risk. A risk house prices don't do what the economic forecasters expect. The risk, they keep going up. It wouldn't be the first time Aussie house prices have defied expectations and common sense to go even more expensive. That is what I've been talking about. That is the upside for the GFD, the global financial depression that we are well and truly in at the moment. We are at the other end of it, right? People are going to lose out big time after this because they just, they might hoard their cash, right? Doesn't matter if you're buying property. Doesn't matter if you can't afford to buy property today. At least do something. People are getting the properties for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. They're buying properties for 80 grand, 100 grand. Buying them for 200 grand, 300, 400 grand. Have assets. This is a market, right? Afterwards, everything's going to get inflated. The wealth effect. Two things have me wondering about rising house prices. First, if the wealth effect. Plenty of Australians are paradoxically finding themselves better off in this crisis. Things are pretty good. The wealthy are those who usually spend most on restaurants, cafes and holidays. Now all that money is stuck in their pockets, building up and looking for an exit. Sydney-based investor John Hempton put it in his Twitter. There are a large class of people for whom the pandemic has not lowered their income, has obviously lowered their expenses and removed the opportunity to spend on something, skiing in Japan, for example, altogether. Expect them to be spent on other things. One thing that wealthy are spending up on is luxury cars. Sales of Mercedes-Benz cars hit a record high in June. The next graph shows BMW, Audi and Lexus too, which is a weird thing to happen in a recession. You think about it, right? Let's have a look here. Look at how high these luxury cars are going, right? We're talking about hyperinflation here. We're talking about inflations are good. They're just printing money, right? They're printing money and it's fucking going somewhere. It's going into cars, right? People are buying these expensive cars because they're getting tax incentives and different things for it, right? That's what's pushing the economy up. It's insane. People don't question, right? The question about the sleight of hands, like why would they have a sleight of hands at this period of time? They can't go out there. Imagine all these bloody commies that'll be like, oh, property investors get a tax benefit. Oh, let's go murder property investors so then we won't have a property to rent from them, whatever, The thing is that imagine if they didn't use this to mop the floor, right, and go, we're going to give tax incentives to businesses so they can buy Lexuses and Beamers and Mercedes and all these sorts of things. It would be outrage, but now it's just like, oh, people are buying still at least to sort of a job and whatever. It's just very, very interesting. The partly caused due to the instant asset write-off policy, which jumped up the usual end of financial year surge. But if it was only about that policy, every kind of car would have set new records. Instead, it was the Germany luxury brands that did. The explanation has been that spare cash is sloshing around in the pockets of the wealthy. Definition of recession is falling incomes, but obviously some people find themselves with spare cash. No, they're getting debt. They're getting further and further in debt. How many people would walk into a car dealership and buy a car cash in 2020? People don't even have cash, right? They're using debt, right? They're getting in debt, so they're just inflating new bubbles here. They're inflating new bubbles. Official policy support. The government has come to the party too. The RBA sent interest rate to record lows of a quarter. I laugh when I see interest rates at 0.25%, because when I said that interest rates were going to go to 0.25% 2 years ago, people used to write in the comment box, stop doing cocaine, Nathan. Stop fucking doing drugs. You're off your head. I've never touched this shit, right? They thought I was fucking doing drugs because I said interest rates were going to go down to zero, right? People said interest rates were going to go up. All these so-called economists and media people that don't even own houses, don't even understand how the economy works. Interest rates are going to go up. Oh, we've got fucking those commies, those lizard people down at the RBA. They're going, interest rates will go up as the next move. And next minute, just due to the economic and because of Corona, interest rates are going to go down. Just remember, interest rates came down in June 2019, right? That was 6 months before people started talking about this scamdemic, right? Money was being pumped in the system with the central banks buying up the repurchasing agreements. The banks were insolvent in September 2019. People asked me, why is the stock market rising? I was like, I don't know why it's rising, right? These repo rates at $100 billion a day, $100 billion per day were being bought up in September 2019. 3 months before this scamdemic hit, right? The system was dead. They needed to inject more liquidity in the system. But anyway, it goes on to read, the RBA set interest rates to record lows of 0.25%, and they have pledged rates will stay low for a long time. Interest rates are not going up to fucking 10%. If interest rates went up to 1%, it would quadruple. So if the debt was $25, right, at 0.25%, it went to $100 at 1%, that means the government just took out $1 trillion, right? And their debt would quadruple in the cost. It would bankrupt the government. So either they bankrupt the government and bankrupt our economy, or they bankrupt our currency. Which one are they going to bankrupt? That's how I make my decisions based on what is going to occur next, right? It's important to understand these things. The pledged rates will stay low for a long time. Mortgage rates have never been cheaper. Correct. They have in countries which have lost their currencies, and I think we'll be one of them later. The government has also introduced home builder grant, $25,000. So don't worry about paying your mortgages. They're the cheapest ever. We'll give you $25,000 to go out and build a house. That's cool. These policies have given the home buyers the capacity and confidence to keep buying. Just think about these schemes that are going in the property market, right? 25 grand to build a new house, first homeowner grant, stamp duty. We're going to charge stamp duty as an annual fee, not as an upfront. Doesn't need to. You're a first homeowner, we'll fucking pay your deposit for you. We'll pay 15% of your deposit. You only have to come up with 5%, which has probably come from home builder, home seeker, job keeper, whatever commie stimulus package that you're getting. Tax rebates, however you're going to come up with the money, pulling out of your super. Fuck, the scam's big, right? People talk about scams. This is the fucking biggest scam that's been paid. And people are so fucking dumb that they're just going, oh, take all my rights. It's insane. It's insane. Sorry, I'm getting passionate, guys. Try to make you laugh. The next graph shows owner-occupiers are still hitting auctions hard. Lending to owner-occupiers is up 6%, even though investor lending is actually falling. We talked about it last week. Right? Investor lending is not falling. The ability for the loans to settle have been pushed back because India, the Philippines, where most of the banks are run, they're in lockdown. They can't settle the amount of loans. So there's a bottleneck there of loans that are trying to settle. We're going to see massive loan increases in the next couple of months. It's going to be insane. Region by region. Now, I don't think there's a chance of rising house prices everywhere. In some parts of Australia, the downward pressure is surely too much. I'm thinking especially those areas which depend strongly on foreign tourists, foreign students and new migrants. Places like Melbourne CBD. In Melbourne CBD, investor sentiment matters and rental prices have tumbled. I'd expect apartment prices to fall further with the latest restrictions in Melbourne. Time will tell and common sense will prevail. I'm not a fan of Melbourne. However, I don't think we're going to see a property crash in Melbourne. That obviously spills outwards to some extent. Cheap city apartments are substitutes for inner city apartments, which substitute for inner city units, and then they in turn substitute for inner city houses. But this wave of discounting can only go up before it breaks a reef of cashed up wealthy people competing for family homes in good suburbs. Those suburbs where house prices seem to most likely to hold up steady or go up, suburbs with a lot of public sector employees. Everybody's public sector, right? Because everyone's stuck in this commie payment system. Government has actually done a good job in propping up the economy in some places. JobKeeper has worked well, and so long as the Treasurer doesn't slash it too much, then he has done. When he does his budget update next week, it should continue to keep the Australian economy from falling in a heap, right? This is all artificial, right? However, there are markets all around Australia which are going up, right? Let's look at some other aspects that would cause that to happen. People aren't getting returns on shares. People aren't getting returns on other investments, risky investments, right? Property, cash flow, importance, people still want to invest in it. Mining areas are starting to boom. Commodity prices are rising, so it's going to be more profitable to pull minerals out of the ground. So if we start seeing mining booms, we're going to start seeing rental increases in these areas. And let me tell you all, I have been buying a lot of stuff in those sort of areas over the course of the last 2 years. Right? My mentoring program, I talked all about it. My inner circle of investors have been talking about it. We've been picking up all the properties on the cheap. And, there's still some bargains out there, but, the market is going to rise. So, yeah. Let's go to some more questions. Can you buy a house with zero deposit? Possibly. Do you have equity in another property? I don't recommend buying a property with no deposit, but I see people getting the properties for 20 grand. I'm not talking about buying something that's like $1 million and putting 20 grand down, 5% deposit, homeowner grant, home builder grant, all these sorts of things. They will have a homekeeper grant, right? Like, keep your home, we'll give you some money, we'll bail you out. This is free money for all, right? The way I see it is that the more hooks that I've got in the ocean, the more fish I'm going to catch, right? I've got more properties out there, I've got more business out there, I've got all different stuff. And there's more hooks in the ocean than ever before. It's amazing, right? Most people are like, oh shit, I can't hop on my train and go to my shitty job and I hate. A lot of people are realizing that. I realized that years ago in my job, and I saw it as a vehicle and a method to get me to where I wanted to be. But people can buy properties for 20 grand deposits. You buy a property for 100 grand. I'm buying properties in capital cities for 150, 200 grand. You can get into a property for very cheap. If you want to use a 5% deposit on a 100 grand property, it's 5 grand, right? People find 5 grand everywhere. So. Coles has Coca-Cola cans, 70 cents, but not cold, 75 cents, not cold. Maybe. I always see those boxes, like the box of like 30 cans for like $36 and $40. And I'm like, wow, I remember when they were different. Can you buy a property with 105% finance? Good question. It's probably a question maybe for next week to ask Rose when she's on here, because that's a good platform to ask a finance expert about that. So with it, next question is only if you have collateral as a guarantor, correct? If you have equity, so someone can get into a property with no deposit. Let's assume that you bought a property for 200 grand, it's now worth 400 grand. You got 200 grand worth of new equity there, get 80% of that, so 160,000. That 160,000, you can use that as maybe 2 or 3 deposits. So there is opportunity to get into a property without a deposit, but do you have another asset for you to be able to use for equity? John, thanks for tonight. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Nathan, have you seen the CNN homepage front top breaking news? Euro just got approved for $1 trillion stimulus. Wow. I haven't seen it. No. That's really crazy, right? They're just printing money. They're just printing more and more money, and people are gobbling it up. But what about when assets rise? And that's where we're heading into, whether it's a pair of jeans, whether it's whatever it may be. So food prices here in New Zealand and restaurants are going up after Corona. Yes, they are. Like here in Sydney, they are. In Australia, it is. It's crazy. Bought a Big Mac the other day, and literally the same circumference of a cheeseburger. It was a small Mac at best. See, there's a lot of likes on that. They use the same patty, they use the same pickle, they use the same onion in them. So yeah, Ridwan, inflation, exactly. 130k, that's chump change compared to what we pay here in Auckland. 500 grand plus in South Auckland. You can buy in Sydney for a couple of $100 grand. That's why I find a lot of Kiwis are coming across to Australia, like to buy properties that are cheap. But it's something that we have found ways to be able to get them into properties in Australia. Nathan, do you favour cash flow positive suburbs to growth suburbs? I like to have both cash flow and capital growth as well. So I want it all. I want to make sure it's below market value, upside for capital growth, and a strong cash flow. Jeremy, you need to get me that block of land next to yours. I'm waiting. I remember that block. It's a 6 kilometre frontage one, everyone. Lydia, I understand you don't give financial advice, but was wondering if your team can assist Aussie expats in getting loans to buy investment properties. I've been stood down here in PNG and was wondering if there's any other way to service a bank loan without pay slips of PAYG. We'll have to write to your team regarding this question. Thank you for everything. Hopefully everything's okay, Lydia. I remember when we caught up in my office like maybe 2 years ago, and you came over for the day. Hope everything's well with you and the family. As for being able to get properties with no servicing and all that sort of stuff, very difficult. But do reach out to the team. Maybe they could point in the right direction of ways to be able to help you through. It's not the sort of stuff that I handle on a day-to-day basis. I've got a team of experts when it comes to financing property portfolios. So finance strategist. We'll look for very cheap rental to buy or upgrade to a bigger place while debt is cheap and the housing market has stagnated. What do we got here? Hope you're going good, Sam. Thoughts on building, developing units, flats yourself for a long-term hold, brand new and higher yields too. Any tips on lifestyle choices, sleeping habits, reducing stress, etc.? So thoughts on building and developing units, flats for yourself for long-term. I like buying properties that are sort of below rebuild costs. So I've got stuff that I pick up that someone would pay 300 to build, 400 to build. I pick them up for 200 grand. I'm not a big fan of building because it slows me down. It's not my game. I could be building a property, selling it on, making a little profit, build another one, sell it on. I like working on scale. So my model for property investing is buying and holding. I'm a lazy investor. I want to hold the biggest asset base, take it through a market cycle, and then take it through another market cycle. That's sort of where I'm at. In 2020, I've doubled my portfolio beforehand, doubled it again, and doubling it again, and that's the whole thing of it. So I've never met anyone that's been excited from selling the properties. I've never heard anyone that's from 10 years ago that goes, "Oh, I'm so glad I sold a property 10 years ago," and that's where it comes from. The other thing is on lifestyle choices. I think habits are important. You can't become wealthy down at the pub buying bottle service for everyone. So partying and things that you can waste your money on, things that get you sidetracked. People ask me about cars and stuff like that. I went through a phase where I bought heaps of cars, expensive cars and whatnot, and ultimately I'm always worried about getting scratched and all that sort of stuff. So there's things that can be distractions in life. I think that if you have clarity on where you're going and what you're trying to achieve, and work out plans and strategies and being able to achieve them, then it keeps you on track. A lot of people just float around and they go, "Oh, I'll try this and I'll try that," and get persuaded by all different things that come up in their day-to-day life. So Nathan, thoughts on the next federal election? I used to be very liberal as a person. Now I'm politically atheist when it comes to who do I vote for. So Rodney just wrote there, WWG1WGA. It's Q. What is the official rating they're giving Australia now? A, AA, AAA. I think maybe we're still like a AA rating. I'd have to go double check. So big boom or bust. I've just tuned in. Apologies. Big boom on everything. Big boom on everything. Going to go to Instagram. There was something before Instagram goes. There's someone I want to call out that doesn't have a name. It said a lot of bad reviews on your company and scams on a forum. Could you comment? Not hating, just wanted your point of view. Good question. I answer good questions and questions that aren't, so fruitful, and, people, do write bad things out there. So I have had, hate over the years. I've been a part of over 10,000 property transactions. I have 100 staff, probably had 500 staff over the last decade. Sometimes things don't go well, but there is lots of beautiful stories out there, lots of wonderful people that have done really cool things. And there's some people that, haven't had that same sort of experience. And, generally the ones that have had good experiences just move on in their life and they're happy. And some people, that aren't so happy, and they'll write negative reviews. Looking at my Google, something out there you asked, so I'll answer that. I don't agree with the comments. I don't deal with terrorists. I don't deal with people that are unrealistic. I don't deal with people that are trying to scare me. So, being a person that does things out there, like I've got a lot of reach, I've got a large community, I've got a lot of people that watch in. From time to time, people do, go out there and write negative things. They try and hold it against me. They're like, if you don't pay me for doing this, which is basically extortion, I will write a bad review. And it's like, well, write a bad review. I don't give a shit, right? But you're not going to fucking push me around. So I do have some hate out there, right? And it's natural, right? There might be a handful, say there's 5 people that write negative reviews out there, and there's 10,000 stories of good things, right? What I would love and what I do appreciate is if, like the community, I do try and be very open with everything that I do and share my knowledge and what I'm researching and whatnot. And if you do like, the content that I put out there, if I could ask of a favour, right? Everyone happy to go and read my reviews, read the good ones, read the negative ones. There has been some negative ones where people want money. It's always about money. People are trying to, get money out of Nathan. And, I do feel that I become a target for people. So if you do like what I do out there, you do like, what the content is that we put out there, you do like the business and what I provide for you, if you are an investor that I've helped out over the years in whatever capacity, whether you've done business directly or indirectly with one of my firms, if I could ask for you, if you do like it, to go and give a bit of love over on the Google reviews. So just on Google, B.Invested, Google B.Invested, have a look and have a bit of a laugh at some of the people. I've had hate. I've had lots of hate. The people that are on there, and in business, sometimes things don't go 100%, right? People's expectations aren't right. People don't listen. Sometimes, things that we stuff up with human error. Sometimes things we get wrong. And we all got to admit when things are wrong. And looking at it from that side, I have had people where, people are gentlemen and people have communication and whatnot. And, we're always amicable. But when people try to extort me, people try to hold me over a barrel, people try and, do that. It doesn't work out well for them, right? Some of those people pay me a small unit, right? Because I will sue them, right? And people try and extort me, and people try the most randomest things. That is, to answer your question, there is bad reviews out there on me, right? Find someone that's lost money from dealing with me. I encourage anybody here to find someone that's lost money from myself, from my businesses, from my from my team, from any of my companies, and you won't find that, right? So there's a handful of people on Google, and I do have it people do bring it up. So and I'm transparent on it, right? I could turn off the Google reviews, I could turn off the reviews from the business, but that wouldn't be transparent. So I'll leave the hate there. But if you guys do like what I put out there, I would really appreciate if you could, just write your story of what you experienced. If it's something we've had a chat on the phone one day and you liked having a chat, write it on there. If you like these videos, like it, write it on there. If there's something that you've been able to use that you've learnt from myself or one of the businesses, please share your story on there. If you don't like us, write bad stuff. It's a free world, and I'm encouraging people for free communication, of free speech, unlike what the likes of these things are, like social media and media out there, which isn't free speech. The other thing as well out there is that some of my businesses have had bots, so you can quite well see the bots that go through Google, and people can, pay for a bot to go and spam a business and make it look like really bad from negative reviews. And I've had that on 2 of my businesses, and it happens, and Google doesn't remove them. So but it's out there for the world to see, not hiding anything. Daniel Andrews, sign up to a Belt Road loan, more foreign investment for Victoria. Correct, they're getting their money in from wherever. Can you use a credit card for the deposit? Get your credit card limit at 10 grand and pay yourself a deposit from the bank. Easy busy. Look, there's all different ways people do stuff like that. I'm sure that they do, and maybe even myself. At some point, I've used credit cards in the early days of my investing. I do not recommend it. It is very highly risky for lots of people, and if you can't save 10 grand buying an investment for $250,000 or whatever, it's not a great thing to go get a credit card as a deposit. I don't recommend it, and I can't give financial advice, but common sense says don't go get credit cards used for a deposit. It will most likely end up in a big problem for whoever's doing that in the future if they can't get 10 grand. So send them my way, Birchy. We'll sort them out for you. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. If you can just maybe write something on Google as a positive, that'd be great. I'm big enough. A lot of people think I'm small. My Instagram just died on me. A lot of people think that I'm much smaller, and they see my hands are like the size of dinner plates, and look at this, it's the size of a bottle of water. But with it, I can go sort out people if I need to. But it's I don't need my JobKeeper tattoo to do so either. But it's something that people do write negative things. People are dicks in life, and it is what it is. But thank you. If you could, that'd be great, Greg. Michael, hi, would it be worth buying an old 1 or 2 bedroom apartment in Lakemba? I've bought lots of properties there, personally own them myself. Would I be buying there at the moment? There are some opportunities if the numbers stack up, the prices stack up, then I would be looking at doing so. It's an area that I have bought in a lot in time, as long as the numbers stack up. Matt, appreciate the honesty, mate. Also, thanks for the nap session. I appreciate it, Matt. Good chatting to you as well. As I said, I see that there's 3 people like Greg's comment about sorting out these clowns on Google reviews and that. If you could support and take 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes out of your day, to be really greatly appreciated to put some positive feedback of your experience of dealing with me, dealing with my businesses, dealing with my team, and what you learned. Just put it honest. If you think it's negative, put negative. If you think it's positive, put positive. But that'd be great. Luke, buy properties for 150 to 300 capital cities that are cash flow positive. That is correct. If you can buy those properties, great. If you can't buy those properties, ask yourself, where am I in my journey? What am I trying to achieve? What do I need to do in order to get to the next level? Each time when I'm buying a property, I'm thinking to myself and ask myself this one question: is how is this property going to help me get to where I want to be and overcome, my next journey, part of the hurdle, and become, get me close to my end goal. So when buying properties, you need to have an entry plan of why you're purchasing them and what it's going to do to help you get to where you want to be. Because so many times people just buy properties for the sake of buying properties. They're buying properties to, there you go, I've bought a new house, or I bought a property in this area because of 1, 2, 3 potential for it to go up, etc. But reality of it is that, there's no plan or strategy as to why you're buying the property. So every time you buy a property, you must be asking yourself, like always talk about the below market value, upside for capital growth and strong cash flow. But the other side of the spectrum is, how is this property going to help me reach my goals? What is the property going to do for me to get me closer to those goals? What are my goals? And yeah, that's what I help people with on map sessions. So for Facebook, if you do want to have a map session, there's a link in the description. For those of you that are on Instagram or other channels, YouTube or whatnot, watching this, flick us a message, send us an email, and organise a map session. We can work out a strategy of, what is the best move. Should you be selling some property? Should you be acquiring property? What's the strategy moving forward? Do you need cash flow? Do you need equity? What is the bigger picture? How is that decision that I'm going to take next going to get me closer to my goal, etc., etc. So on that note, actually there's another question here. How's the Raptor? I'm selling the Wild Track and investing. I'll be hitting you up very soon. Raptor's going awesome. I've got the new Ford Raptor, and yeah, it's cool. So yeah, from that, happy to help out where I can. I used to have a Wild Track as well. They were pretty cool. Andrea actually sent you a positive Google review late last week. Appreciate that, Andrea. Thanks for that. And thanks for being awesome and being a part of the community. Birchy, do you still have your content from 2012 that got deleted? Would be good for people to see. I learnt a lot from those videos. The deleted videos on my YouTube, someone deleted them, had a crazy ex, and yeah, she hopped in there and deleted my YouTube channel back in 2012, 2013. I used to have a lot of renovation videos and youthful videos with pimples on my face, no grey hairs, all that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, I don't have them. I did get a lot of videos and were able to transfer them. One of my clients came to an event and had downloaded like 100 videos. I'd be really excited if anyone had actually downloaded my videos pre-2013 and would have them. It'd be really great if you could send them over if someone had some, and I could re-upload them for the rest of the community. That'd be great. So it could just come from a question like that. I could get back 100 other videos, but yeah, I've got all those videos out there. If you guys are just new to the community, head over to YouTube, youtube.com/B.Invested. You'll find their videos going back like 10 years. I think they're all sort of also first person in the property space, financial services space, making YouTube videos back in 2010, 2009. There was no one on YouTube talking about this sort of stuff. But I've got videos there ranging back many, many years where I look very different to what I do now. I look a lot younger and whatnot. So if you are new, there's lots of videos of how to, why to, go check it out. What have we got here? Some more questions. Any tips on finding property that are positive cash flow and have potential to grow? Zach, make sure you tune in for my webinar that's upcoming. Reach out to the team. They'll send you a link to the webinar. The webinar's in about 2 weeks' time, where I'll be talking about how to buy properties that are below market value, positive cash flow in 2020. That's what I specialise in, is finding those sorts of things. I'll be talking about all strategies around that. So tune into that, and I'll cover that off into very explicit sort of detail. Rani, what are you thinking about aged care places, like buying a hotel like the one you have in the Blue Mountains and getting it into our aged care? It's not really my game. I'm just a property investor. I've got lots of buildings, lots of businesses and whatnot, which is around what I do, but aged care isn't really my thing. It could be good for people. There could be lots of money in it, but I tend to stick to, a system that works for me. Macca's don't sell pizzas. They sell food. They sell burgers. They have a process, a procedure, a system that's profitable for them. My investing is very similar. So, Sam, do you not buy certain apartments due to certain strata companies, poor services? No. I'll buy anything at the right price. I've picked up properties which have had stupid strata levies. Generally, if you've got 50 people in the complex, they're not happy. It might take 2, 3, 4 years for that to change. They'll overturn the strata, find a good strata company that'll fix up the property, etc. And I've picked up properties for as cheap as like $20,000 a unit. I picked up one in the start of this year for one of my investors. Sold previously for 160 grand. I picked it up for $18,000 in 2020. $18,000. Rents for about $150 a week. But yeah. Luke, the point on the old content is that you're still consistent and delivering results. Maybe Koshy still has it. Koshy's a dick, and he still is, and he was to start off with. And you've got to question all the, the puppets, right? Like if someone's pushing something, they've got like a puppet master with their hand up their ass. These people that are, shilling certain sort of things and pushing certain agendas throughout the media. Some bad people out there. I'm not saying Koshy is, but I'm just saying there's bad people out there in the media, and bad people that have their own personal agendas. And the comment that Luke's mentioning about is that I have an investor that came to me in 2011 at an event. I did some speaking events on behalf of a large financial institution. Had a room of like 500-600 people. Met this lady. She's very dear to me. She had 2 properties, very new, fresh. Someone could have taken advantage of her position very much. So she had a little bag with some information, DVDs and stuff like that. And I said, I'm thinking of buying this off the plan property. I was like, look, if I never talk to you again, I had 1 minute with her. And I said, if I never speak to you again, make sure that you don't buy that property because you're going to screw yourself up. You talk about below market value, upside for capital growth, and a strong cash flow. This property was negative. It had no chance for upside or growth, and was so overpriced. It's going to be taking 10, 15 years. It wouldn't have even made money still to this day, a decade on. And this lady went on with her husband and her 2 kids to get 20 properties. She lives in a castle, very, very humble and modest family. She went on to Koshy. Koshy laughed in her face. She goes, Koshy's my idol. I'm so excited to see Koshy. Went on to Koshy. Koshy made her look like a dickhead. Said all these bad things to her. Reality of it is that Linda's my office manager. She's my general manager for my business now. She's awesome. Koshy still is renting his property and still waking up at bloody 4 a.m. in the morning to get onto his TV show, spilling shit about investments, right? And probably wasn't this vocal in the past about it because I just respect other people that are at the network or whatever. And I didn't question him and call him out that 2 weeks before the GFC, he told everyone to sell their house and buy shares before the stock market lost 40%. The largest deflationary period before now. So, interesting point, Luke. But for those of you that don't know the story between Koshy, he's just been a dick every time I go on his show. But always give respect to the producers and those that are behind the scenes in the show. Graham, as someone who likes to buy and hold, you don't talk about your experience selling a property much. Any advice for those that find themselves in a position where they want or need to sell? Good point. I prefer not to sell, but if you do want to sell a property, make sure you're doing it at the right time. People that I was talking to tonight when I got dinner said, should I sell my property now? I was like, don't sell your property now. I've known these people for like 20 years. I said, don't sell your property now. Hold in. And she goes, oh, okay, cool. I'll hold it for another 2 years, 3 years because you think it's going to go up and all that. And make sure you market. Like, are you leaving money on the table? Like, I'm settling on a property this coming Thursday where I think someone's leaving like millions. I mean, like tens of millions on the table. And are you selling your property too early? Are you being shaken down? Are you being pushed out? Is there another way around it? Why do you have to sell for? How can you not sell? What strategies can you do to try and hold on to the asset? Is there another option? A lot of the time I see people and they go, I'm screwed, I've got to sell my property. It's like, no, you're just weak and don't want to take on the hard decisions of getting rid of your car that's on a loan. You don't want to get rid of your expensive fucking lifestyle that you've got. You want to, pretend that you're rich, but you're poor, right? There's lots of people out there that appear as rich and they're actually poor as hell. And looking at it, try and avoid. I'm always trying to avoid. If I have to avoid selling off an asset, why do I want to sell off an asset? If the asset is working, keep it. You want it to work harder for you. How can you refine that asset to keep it? So, I guess me not wanting to sell assets, I always find a way not to have to sell the asset. I've been put into difficult positions, building a portfolio of 65 odd mil worth of property, hundreds of properties, dealing with businesses and life. Things go wrong at times, right? There's a point where a few years ago I needed $10 million worth of loans to settle 10 mil worth of new assets, and I put myself into a rough spot, and I got through it and I pushed through. I sold off maybe like 10 properties in total. Might have been like $1 million, $2 million worth of redundant properties. And I was actually thinking about it on the weekend, that when I sold those properties, it was at the peak of the market. Someone from news.com wrote a story like I was going in a bit of money trouble, and someone in the AFR wrote a really negative story saying that Nathan's going bankrupt and people are suing him. I still own all those properties, but the ones that I sold off, I sold them right at the peak of the market. And I was thinking about the other day, and I actually drove past like 3 or 4 of them, and I was thinking to myself, fuck, these houses are not worth what I sold them for on the market in 2016, 2017. They still never recovered. So I felt good about that, and I was like, I don't like selling properties, but the ones I let go of, I sold them at the right time. And I didn't want to drop the cargo. I didn't want to have to sell the properties, but I sold them because just at the point I needed to do something, and I wanted to acquire I was at $10 million worth of asset that I needed to purchase, and if I didn't settle on the 10 mil, I would have lost about $1 million worth of deposits, and I wasn't prepared to lose $1 million worth of deposits, because I don't fucking lose deposits. None of my investors lose deposits. So I found a way, and restructured my position. One of my goals this year was to get 1 million square meters of land. I made a video the other week on my personal Facebook and Instagram where I bought 5 million square meters of land in one block. But just here in Western Sydney, I did some calculations. I've got about 140 to 160 thousand square meters of land. So for the next boom, when I want to become a developer one day, people ask me, when am I going to be a developer? One day I will. But just not at the moment. I'm just not ready for it, right? I've got another 40 years of hustling and still having my mind. Some people might think I'm off my mind to do cool shit, and I think that I'm just starting, right? I'm always feeling like I'm just a fresh kid that's like hustling to a new level, and there's always a new level to if you're playing a computer game, you get to that new level, and you don't know anything about that level, and you try and push forward. And you remember on the last level you got through by getting all the little gold coins and whatever the case may be. And there was a hustle. So just sharing with you guys some things that I've been through in time as well. What's your thoughts on making property offers, aka do you bother with auctions, which can cost a lot of due diligence without any promise you'll win the auction? In certain markets, I will take out auctions if I know the properties, know the agents, know the markets. In depressed markets, I buy in auctions in depressed markets. I do not go to auctions in hot markets. I don't waste my time, because they're always going to shake you down for more money, and I don't get shaken down for money. So as I was saying about my Google reviews beforehand. So with the property offers, I do a lot of my stuff off market. I do a lot of stuff like private treaty. I do buy in auctions. I remember an auction I went to about 3 years ago. There's so many funny auction stories. Those people, they used to see me at auctions going back in 2010, 2008, 2007. In the GFC, I used to rock up to auctions, and I'd just blow everyone out of the water. I'd like sit there and like walk up to them and stand them in the eyes and stare at them. And people were like, who the fuck's this crazy guy? I'd rock up in my pajamas to auctions. I'd walk up and just like troll the auctioneer, and people were like, why is this guy acting like this? So one I did 3 years ago, I bought a property for 160 grand that had sold for 300 grand beforehand in the Gold Coast. Had a bit of cracking in the walls and stuff like that. I was bidding 10-cent bids, 20-cent bids. Auctioneer accepted it. It was the dumbest thing ever, but yeah. With it, I do buy, but not all the time. Luke said, I think Koshi and Steve Keen are going to share a flat together. I think they might do other things, but I don't know. I don't know what they're up to. They're just negative, and they've got their agendas. I think they're from two different groups. I think that Koshi's from a different sort of different group of people. But you know, I see Ash here just said gloves off. When I see what the media, how the media behaves, I've been a part of the media for years. I like going with people. I like being in the media. You know, I've seen the media write shit about me. I've seen media write good things about me. But what I realise is that the information that comes out of my mouth goes to what people read is very different. And if this is something about, you know, property that I know about, what other things are manipulated when it comes to health, whether it comes to political, when it comes to you know, society, when it comes to trends, when it comes to programming of the subconscious mind, right? Like the world we live in, just think about the world that we live in 2020, or even in 2018, before everyone was stuck as a prisoner of their own house. So just think about the world that you knew from 10 years prior and 10 years prior to that, and just question yourself, how did we get here? And what was the conditioning? What was accepted? Like, we've got snowflakes everywhere today. A lot of people probably don't like my videos anymore, and that's cool, right? I like to attract people that I like, and that's why I get a joy out of what I do, and I can't impress everyone, and I need to respect that, and everyone needs to respect that too. And, you know, it's the world is a very funny place today, and it's all from social conditioning. Graham, I'm buying, by the way. Cool, good stuff. Let me know if I can help you with anything at the moment. My extended family, Steve, my extended family overcapped on a farm, horse stud. I don't think they would be able to recoup the money if they spent doing it up, if they sold it now. Expensive doodads. Like, people do, you know, get caught up in lifestyle. I've never fallen victim of it, but there's certainly been times where I'm like, fuck, did I do that? Like, when I look back as an older version of myself, it's like, was that me back in that time? It's, yeah, so, but, you know, always talk about emotion gets people killed. Emotion is an ego. Emotion is, is being fearful. Emotion is greed. There's all different emotions that get people killed, and when it comes to not doing the things that you need to do in order to get to where you want to be, people go, I want to be here, but they don't want to do what it takes. Same thing comes, like I was saying beforehand, I had a Bentley, right? I had $1 million worth of cars in my garage, and I was so cool, right? But I can't drive $1 million worth of cars at a time, right? I drive around with a ute with cash flow on it. That's cool, right? 'Cause utes make cash flow. So yeah, with it, it's important to do the things that are going to help you get to where you want to be. And I think it's really important to have the right mindset behind it, because what do you need to do is your next step. What can you do today to get you close to your goals? What you want and what you need to do might be two totally separate things, but if you do what you need to do, then you can get to where you want to be. And yeah, that's the big of it. Paolo, how do you structure your properties? Do you structure them in trusts? Mixture of trusts, personal name, different types of corporate entities. There's all different types of ways to structure. I could sit here for a whole evening talking about it. Everybody's position is different. My first 20, 30 properties were under my personal name. You can get sued under a trust. You can be 100% protected under your personal name. Tax advantages, pros and cons to both of them. I find most people that build large property portfolios get better runway from having them under their personal name. I see a lot of people out there pushing trusts and different types of structures, generally because they get paid for doing so. Accountants are great for saying buy a trust, structure in a trust. I see people come from map sessions and like, why did you buy a property under a trust? Why did you buy this thing under a trust? Why did you do it this way? And they're like, oh, because my accountant told me to. I'm like, your accountant is a fuckwit. I've never met them, don't know who they are, but they've fucked you up big time. And it happens. Like, people get structured poorly. So there's pros and cons to trusts. Still to this day, I buy properties under a personal name. Sometimes I buy properties under other people's names, right? And they're being surrogate parents for me to, carry an asset. Sometimes I buy properties in trust outright. I've got dozens of trusts. I've got dozens of different corporate structures. there's all different ways. There's loans to different structures. It's a mess, right? Someone to go and find their way through. So I guess, to start off with, when you're building a portfolio, take baby steps. It's not about having 100 properties from day one. Sometimes it's about just doing one property and then doing the next one and the next one and working out what you need to do each step along the way to be ripped and built. It's not, it's not about going to the gym today and being the biggest that you can be. It's about going and doing one sit up, doing one chin up, walking one block, and then from there it's a matter of working out how do I want to get the next one. So it's work out the big picture, and then have the team around you. If you need help with structuring and getting trusts and looking at that, if you are interested in doing so, be very careful the advice you get. If you'd like, send a message over. I can hook you up with Ridwan, who's principal accountant and director at One Path Accountants, who I use as well, and have a chat with him and see if a trust is right for you, and also speak to the rest of your team. It's not just about getting it for tax purposes or for asset protection. I've seen people get sued on a trust. So is it going to work from a finance? You could have property under trust, but if you can't get the equity out, you can't go and purchase the next one, it's going to be not the best for you. Angelito, hey Nath, have you always had a heart of hustler growing up? I hope you're well, firstly. I hope you're doing well. I remember our chat going back a couple of months ago. Look, I was hustling, right? Like I showed everyone on the video beforehand the catalogue from a coin magazine from back in 2001, right? I was like hustling. I was saving coins. I couldn't buy a property. I was investing into metal, right? I was investing in gold and silver before it was cool. I don't talk about it that much. Right? I've got all these haters that, as we'll talk about haters beforehand. Oh, Nathan's going to go broke. So Nathan, who don't know that Nathan was buying what everyone's spruiking like gold and silver today back in 2000 when he couldn't sign a contract on a property. But I've always been. Thanks for the messages. There's heaps of messages come through. I've always been hustling. Like I saw my family work real hard. My dad died at the age of 62. I was 16. Family just worked real hard. I don't come from a wealthy family, and I wanted to be wealthy. And then it just became a game, and I had to work hard to get ahead in life. So that's why I hustle now. I have choices on things. Sometimes people say, my brain's like too, in different realms, and I try and keep it as real as possible because the hustle is real, and I'm always trying to make the next things happen. I could just be sitting on a beach, chill, no TV, no Facebook Live, living a really basic life. But that's not enough for me. Like I want to, provide. I want to, do stuff. I want to, give back, share information, and I get a kick out of doing this. So a lot of people say thank you for. Let's have some water. A lot of people say thank you for, putting out what I do. I saw a message just beforehand saying that someone loves these videos. I love the fact that everyone wants to tune in and have me as a part of their home on a Tuesday night. So it's fun both ways as well. But I do like to hustle, and part of it is the chase and the journey as well. So Stephen, how about a LLC? LLC is a limited liability company, basically a proprietary limited company, which would be a normal Australian company, but that's in the US. So that would be a similar thing in the US. James, hate is rife. Those that circumvent and keep moving forward, leave it behind to succeed. Keep doing your thing, Nathan. You inspire many. I appreciate that, James, and thanks for the feedback. And Kevin, Nathan, legendary. You're a legend, Kev. So keep up being awesome as well. But with it, the community is awesome. The community is strong. There's people. I get a kick out of seeing. People. There's an awakening happening at the moment with consciousness. There's a lot of people that are going to be poor, brainless, spineless people in the future, right? That are getting brainwashed by what's happening out there in the media. And sometimes what I say is a bit controversial. Sometimes it's a bit out there and unorthodox. However, it's fun being able to experience the journey with you guys in the community. I was having a laugh when I remember the day that things went into lockdown. I was having a chat with one of my guys in the office, Bo, and we're like, I'm so glad that here we are. We're able to have a laugh about this together. There was no one around, right? We'll drive in the streets, we'll like go into the office, and we'll sitting there going like, hey, this is like a Stephen King movie, right? And it's like, I can't believe that we're in the middle of the GFD and everyone's being brainwashed that it's not the GFD, and they'll soon realise that it is the GFD. And for those that know Bo, he's got like a really awesome energy and whatnot. We're just having a laugh, just saying like, I'm so glad that when we're going through it, we can at least have laughs together, and it's a great old time to be alive. So it's cool. Andrew booked in the Google Calendar each third Tuesday. For those of you, just once again, I will be on earlier next Tuesday. I'll be on at 6 o'clock for our friends over in New Zealand. I'm scared of aeroplanes. I've never been over there. I don't plan on going over there. But a lot of people ask me, Nathan, can you help us out? Can you give us some feedback, thoughts, and whatnot? So I am going to do a New Zealand sort of based Facebook Live next Tuesday. It will be Tuesday at 6 o'clock Sydney time, 8 o'clock New Zealand time. So for those guys who are in New Zealand, come in. We're going to have a chat. I'm going to be talking all my New Zealand slang and get my jandals out and put my water in my chili bin. So we'll be here for you next week. My niece Lauren's laughing in the background here because she's like, why are you being so dorkish? So with it, on that note, there's a couple of things here on Insta. I'll have a chat with you guys on Insta for a bit before we go. I know I had a short week last week, and today I'm just going for ages. Thoughts on the Melbourne property market at the moment? It's the same. Got the wild track. How's the wild track going? I didn't realise. I can't see the name on there, so I hope you go well with it. So hopefully you're treating it well. And we've got here. Nathan, quick question: how many properties do you research? And out of that, how many would be a good deal or investment to you? I look at properties every day. I've always got like hundreds of offers out there on properties, but only a few get accepted. And in this market, need to be much quicker with the properties when we get them and secure them. So, with it, I might get 1 out of 100, might get 3 out of 100. It's just a matter of knowing what you're looking for. And nowadays, I like getting the agents to work for me rather than me having to go look for the deals. So I get a lot of stuff through the agents before they hit the market. What are your thoughts on the future of the stock markets? Do you still think September will be doomsday? The rate that they're going, they're just printing straight through this. They're just printing money, as I said beforehand, right? Printing. And the more money that's coming through will be lesser impact. But I still believe that over the course of the next quarter, we're going to see some really shaky times in the stock market. No financial advice, of course. But yeah. And then on this, no, I'm gonna end shortly. But there's a last couple of things here. I'm interested in a map session. We'll make an appointment for September once it becomes available. Cool. If you can click on the link and speak to the team and see what we can book in for a map session. Look forward to talking to you and helping you out with your position. Dean, cheers for video. Funniest call of the night was calling the Queen a lizard. Right? I could have called the Queen a cesspool for what she has her son doing out there and allegedly doing. There's lizard people and there's lots of different things that they get up to. You always see their masks that they put on and the types of people they hang around. So Jessica, you recently recommended, just started listening and watching your videos. Love the enthusiasm, wanting to expand my portfolio. When a map session's available. I don't book the map sessions myself, my team do. There's only limited spots left throughout the year. A lot of people sort of need help during this time. I try and have my time accordingly to help as many people as I can. Have a chat to my team if you want to book in for a map session. It's a strategy session with myself and yourselves to work out a strategy of where you're at, where you're trying to go to, what things we can do to improve our position. Even if it's just one thing, it comes at a cost. I think it's $495 for a map session. I'll look at your position. Even if you can just take one thing from it, save $1,000, $5,000, $20,000, improve your position by $500,000. Whatever it is to get you close to your goals. That's what it's all about. So I look forward to helping you. Paolo, if someone has been pre-approved for purchase property for 5 months ago and now withdrawn their super, all the banks reject their original pre-approval. Just comes down to the bank and the institution that you're using. You'd have to speak to your broker, speak to your bank. So Frank, buying a car for business thoughts, finance, or buy it outright, depending on your position. I buy my cars outright. I have had loans on cars beforehand. If you can get a loan on it, great. If you can't, don't. Everybody's position is different. Just remember, if you go and buy a car for $50,000, it could affect $200,000 of your serviceability. So it could really screw up your ability to get the rest of your property portfolio built. Prashant, you need another Daniel to help the map sessions. Look, I actually enjoy doing the map sessions nowadays, one-on-one with each investor to help them work out their personal goals. For those that you don't know, I had a business partner, Daniel, he loves traveling the world, and he's retired to go and do that stuff. He's got like 70 odd properties over the course of the last decade, and now got the freedom to do what he wants when he wants and all that sort of stuff. And he used to do the map sessions and strategy, and for the last sort of 18 months I've been back at it, and specifically in the last 12 months, because a lot of people want help in getting through this time. And I think I love going through this journey with the people that are around me at the moment. So that's what's cool. So I'm very happy to do that myself. On that note, I need to take my niece home. She's laughing here. She's like falling asleep. I can see she's been tuning in, and she always watches and whatnot. So on that note, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you need help with anything, reach out to my team. If you like what I put out there, if you could share it, add your friends, like it, comment, that'd be great. And also for those shills that are out there on Google, I could sit there and say individually every little thing about their personal life, right, and share their positions with everyone and explain the stories behind it. I choose not to, because I'm bigger than that. But if you could give us a thumbs up over there on Google reviews under B.Invested, that'd be much appreciated. And maybe just share how I've been able to touch your personal life and help you guys with your own personal positions. So we'll catch up soon, and take care and be safe in the meanwhile. And people in Melbourne, I wish you well, and with the communist with dictator Dan down there. So we'll catch up soon, guys. Bye for now.